ourselves live or not live, but we should be live now. I can't get it to come up on my YouTube, which the live that I made, because I'm not subscribed to myself, so it's just like these whole things where like it won't show you live things until they're happening, and it's just YouTube annoys me. But anyways, okay. I don't think, or maybe we are on now. Okay, well, if you're watching live, thank you so much. If you are watching the replay, even better, because that's less fun. So thank you for doing that. I am super, super excited. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of define what the conversation is about, because I feel like we have cyclical reviewing conversations constantly, and that's not really what I'm wanted to talk about. So this is not really like don't tag reviewers or don't tag authors in bad reviews or don't plagiarize your reviews or things like that. It's not like the 101.
I mean, don't. I mean, right. Do not do that.
Please. Hopefully, like many of you know that already. So this is more like our opinion and our experience as reviewers and how we feel about things that either are talked about all the time or maybe are implied but maybe aren't entirely accurate. So things like that. It's not review etiquette 101. It's more our opinions on what you actually have to do and what's completely optional and personal preference style. So I'd love for you all to introduce yourselves and which platforms your reviews are on, and or like which platforms you use for what. So I know like I have an Instagram. You are never going to find my reading wrap up on Instagram. Like that's not where you follow me for that, but it might be for you. So let them know which platforms you do share your reviews and or recommendations on. We'll start with Ashley. We'll go around.
Okay. I'm Ashley from Bookish Realm on all platforms. Review-wise, if you want a full-length, in-depth, down and dirty, what I like, what I didn't like, Goodreads is the place to follow me. I do it on my YouTube channel too, but I've been really shitty about wrap-ups lately because it is what it is. So if you're looking for somewhat more consistency, not perfect consistency, because I got 20 reviews that I need to get done after this live show. But if you're looking for detailed reviews, I think that Goodreads is the place to go. Recommendations, Instagram, and YouTube.
Cool. Hi, I'm Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany, pretty much on most platforms except Twitter. It's too long, so I'm Bookish Bethany. Yeah, right. Thoughts and prayers. So my reviews are primarily on Goodreads and YouTube. I do write reviews for everything on Goodreads, and sometimes I get more in depth there than I do on YouTube, and I'm also more likely to have content warnings on my Goodreads reviews than on my YouTube reviews, but I do consistently wrap ups and stuff as well. Occasionally you'll see me talking about a specific book on Instagram or TikTok, but usually it's just because I have an unusual amount to say about a book. So that doesn't happen all the time. So yeah, mostly YouTube and Goodreads for reviews.
Well, I'm Taima from Shadesnpages. Instagram is my primary platform, so you will find all of my reviews on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter and TikTok as Shadesnpages. Twitter and TikTok is like my struggled pages. I do more book recommendations on TikTok, but if you want actual reviews, then Instagram is the place where you'll find me. Twitter, I just be talking shit on Twitter, so that's all you're going to get. So, yeah.
Yes. I will say the reason why Ashley has so many reviews is because if you don't follow her on Goodreads, her reviews are like in depth, like this long of all the details and also her thoughts and also her analysis and also like it's very in depth. So like I could never, because my reviews are like, I liked it. He was hot. Content warning.
I read faster than I review. And so
Yeah.
being a full-time, like I have a full-time job and I'm a single mother. So
Yep.
I'm constantly reading whenever I get chunks of time to read. I don't always have a chunk of time to sit down and review the way that I want to review so that they don't build up. So it ends up in a situation where like it's 20 reviews, but sometimes I'll take notes, sometimes I don't, but I have a good enough memory at this point where I can chug them out pretty decently.
Yeah, I usually don't let more than like 3 build up because it stresses me out. So it's more like if I'm reading faster than I'm reviewing and I'm tired, you're just going to get a slightly shorter than usual review from me. And it'll still be like a couple paragraphs at least.
Yeah.
So.
I read faster than I review too, but some of them I honestly don't even review because I'm like, I don't have the time. I'm like Ashley, full-time job, single mom. So when you get a review from me, just be thankful because I don't have it all the time. But I try to at least leave a few sentences. But sometimes I go in depth. Sometimes,
Right. My thing is, I'm already doing not in depth. Let's be serious for a moment, but I'm already reviewing everything on YouTube. So like if you want to know every book that I read, you're watching my monthly wrap up. That's where you get that content. Goodreads is literally notes to myself on how I felt about that book. And then like I do my reading journal as well, so that's every book basically something. Reading journal, I just do stats. But that's every book is basically, recorded 3 different times. That's a lot of work all by itself. So I'm not doing that then on every other platform also. And I know Leah asked about StoryGraph. For me, I think StoryGraph sounds like a lot of work and I'm scared, and that's why I'm on Goodreads.
I've tried it and I didn't care for it, unfortunately. Like I'm glad it works for some people. I know there are people who love it. I do prefer Goodreads, and I am not going to do both. I just don't have the bandwidth to do both.
Yeah, StoryGraphing ain't looking too good for StoryGraph on my end. I tried it, but it just seems like too much work for me, and I'm not gonna do it.
For me, well, I'm gonna with Monty's question, the one above. Also, Monty, a lot of the stuff that I read, especially when it comes to youth-based literature, I'm around that all day. That's all I talk about. That's all I deal with every day. So it's not so much as I'm reading it and then it's done with. It's like I'm reading it and then I may be writing a blog post for my job, or I may be having a discussion with my so the books really are never read and done with. It's a constant discussion. So I rarely ever forget youth based. Now with adult, I have to be a little bit more careful because that's not what I do for a living. So if I'm not careful with that stuff, I will forget it. But with kid stuff, not so much. And StoryGraph for me, I tried it and I had to add too much to their catalog. I already catalog for a living.
Right.
I don't want to leave work and catalog and then come home and also be cataloging because they don't have a big enough database of books just yet, especially as a comic reader. I just got sick of having to like pull the images in and pull in summaries and actually pull all of the data information that they need in order to have it as an established book within their system. I just couldn't do it anymore.
I mean, I will say too, like when you talk about people like me, Ashley, you and I on Goodreads, like we've built up enough of a following there that it's also hard to move over because it's like once you start ranking for your country for like your reviews and stuff, like then it's no longer just, oh, it's a place to record my reading. It's a place that people go to read my reviews. And so, and StoryGraph just isn't set up the same way for that. So I don't know.
Unfortunately, the ranking thing is also a huge factor. And
I want you to know the only reason I know Goodreads review ranking is a thing is because the two of you rank. talked about. Like, I don't even know.
I very briefly made the world rankings for the first time.
I'm globally ranked right now, and that's
I ain't.
I
I'm
could
not.
never be bothered.
It's the best feeling in the world when that, like, I always stay in the top 100 for the US. Like, without fail, I've like, since I've started ranking, I haven't fallen out of the top 100 in the US. But when that global ranking comes in, you'd be like, I'm a boss fucking bitch. Like, I'm globally ranked.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm
true.
not global. I don't even think I'm rated nationally. Like,
I guarantee you, I'm not even rated well in my friends list. Like, you're ready to go.
Yeah. Good luck to y'all, though.
It's amazing. So we are with true professionals, and like I said, if you do read the reviews, you will see why, because nobody else is putting in that kind of effort. And it's not even just effort, it's also truly expertise. It's knowing what you're talking about and taking the time to type it out, and that's just a rare combination, and you all have it. So congratulations. We're honored. So when you write reviews or when you review on your channel, who do you have in mind? Who are you writing reviews for? So like I said, my Goodreads is just for me. So that's not what I'm talking about. For me on my channel, my idea is always that I'm talking to people who have similar tastes to me, who are looking for information on a book that you cannot just Google it. So you can't just say, does this book have a good dynamic? Does it have this content warning? Does it have annoying characters? Because of course you have a wide range of opinions on it. So I'm always thinking that it's people who have similar reading tastes to me, or they know how their taste compares to mine, and they want to know the things that bothered me or made me love a book, and not so much the synopsis. I do try to indicate what the book is about, but I figure if they do want the synopsis, they're either looking at the actual synopsis or they're going to someone's review like Ashley or Bethany who did break down the book in whole. Whereas for me, I'm just like, this is why I liked it, why you would like it, and or if this bothers you, don't read this book. So that's what I'm always thinking. Who are you? What are you thinking? Or who are you thinking of for your reviews? Who are you doing them for?
I think I've shifted in terms of my reading in the past like year or so. Sometimes it's kind of hard for me to pinpoint who I'm reviewing for because I read all over the place. It can get any genre, any age group. But I think as I found myself reading more, beginner readers, picture books, middle grade, YA, I think I'm keeping teachers, parents, and caregivers in mind now when I start reviewing. Because those are the people who are now, or even other librarians, those are the people now that I feel like I've started interacting with more, who ask, like, okay, would this be appropriate for, my 8 or 9-year-old, or I have, this family member. So now I think about stuff like that when I am reviewing and even when I'm giving recommendations. So that's, in the past, I really don't know, but now I think that's who I'm keeping in mind. But then that can change if I'm reviewing an adult title. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I want to kind of echo something similar. I think when I'm reading middle grade and below, I'm also writing reviews for teachers and caregivers and parents, and that's who I'm directing it at. I don't really I don't write those reviews for other adult readers who might want to pick it up. I'm really directing it at like somebody who might be giving it to children. When I'm reading YA and adult, then I'm just generally my hope is that anybody who reads my review can come to it and get a sense of whether it would be something they would enjoy or not. But I am writing it for readers. I'm not writing it for authors. Like every once in a blue, yeah. Like, I mean, like, every once in a blue moon, I might throw in a line of like, oh, this craft thing could have been improved a specific way, but like, that's just because I feel like it. I'm not writing a review for an author. I'm definitely writing them for other readers to help them decide whether this is a book that they are interested in picking up or not.
That makes sense. I feel like I'm definitely writing reviews for people who have the similar interests as me. Like, I usually heavy when it comes to Black romance, and I've dabbled more. I love romance, so I'm gonna throw a review in there, but it's definitely for people who have similar interests as me. And I have some people who ask me, okay, I am going to wait until you review this book to see if I'm going to read this, because we have similar tastes and I trust your reviews. So I'm going to wait until you review it. But definitely for readers and for the people who actually have similar interests and the people who trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what is something that you think causes a lot of frustration for reviewers in general, or you specifically? This can be something like NetGalley, which obviously can be a great tool, but people get their percentage low and then they have to read 80 books that they are no longer interested in to try and get it high enough to get approved for something they are interested in. I see, a lot of complaints about that. Or even, people complaining about your experience with the book when you're trying to explain that this was your experience. It doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. What's something that either you hear lots of people frustrated with and you think it does cause issues for reviewers in the community, or you personally are just annoyed by it and you'd like to vent?
Well, I feel it does get annoying when you post a review, and like you said, I'm always understanding of the reading is subjective. We all have different experiences from a book. But if I'm posting a review and I'm telling you this is how I feel about this book, and then you come in my comment section and you have something to say about what I feel about the book, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Because this is how I felt. And then you also have people who actually take your review and they send it to the specific author that you're reviewing. And then the author comes with their little 5 cents that I didn't ask for. So now I got to
25.
understand, like I didn't. Now I got to tell you about yourself too, because you here and I ain't sent for you.
Right.
Now you got to get what you come here for. Like, I feel like sometimes I feel like I can read a review. Sometimes I'd be like, I didn't get that, but okay, girl, that's how you feel. But I keep that to myself. I don't go in someone's review and be like, oh, well, I didn't feel that way. And, I didn't think this way, but I feel like it gets frustrating. And when you have a review and you're posting from your personal experience and you have somebody come in and was like, well, I didn't get that. Okay, well, that's on you. Post that on your page and you can get the hell from around here.
Right. You would think that would just be politeness, but it's really not. It's amazing how much that happens.
You know what I do occasionally?
Tell us.
It's like the Goodreads version of subtweeting is if I read a review that I disagree with, that I'm like, this is not a good take, I will talk about how I think it's a bad take in my review without referencing a specific review.
I do that too. I'm not gonna lie. I do that. Yeah, I do that shit too. Like, if I see somebody else and I'd be like, I've seen that. Some people feel like
I think I've done that before.
I've done that. Yeah, I have done that.
Like, let me counteract this misinformation.
Right. Because sometimes it really is like, I'm sorry, but you just didn't understand. You did not understand what you were reading. What are you even talking about? That's not what happened. That's frustrating. Yeah. But someone just saying, oh, I didn't like it, when I'm like, no, it's the best book in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, I like taste is fine. Like, whatever. We
Right.
like
Yeah.
different things. Who cares? But it's like when someone fundamentally misunderstands a
Right.
book or misrepresents a book, that's
Mhm.
what will bother me. Um,
Right.
yeah.
The Goodreads comments that I've gotten, that's the only thing too about being like, whenever your review, of course, sits at the top of certain books, then people, that's the first review people see. So people
Mhm.
comment like bullshit all the time. Like, I had an issue with, I still gave the book 3 stars, but I can't remember what was the name. Monty, you read the book too. And it was one of my most disappointing books of last year because the whole potential of the book was to showcase this relationship between these two queer Black boys. One was leaving, and they were kind of doing this last kind of tour of the city before one of them left. And there was kind of like this random, yeah, the Baltimore book. It was like this random insert of racism that happened. It just threw the book off, to be honest. And I was like, it had potential. Kings of Be More. It had such great potential, and I loved it. And then we got to that point, and I was like, dang. I said, can we just have one where they just don't have to deal with that? I understand that it could be realistic, but the story itself just didn't need it. It actually took the story away from the intention and purpose behind it. And so, as a Black reviewer, I don't like, and I'm gonna keep it 100, I don't like when I'm reading a book about the supposed Black experience as a Black reviewer. I'm giving my review from my experience as a Black person living in this country. And then I got a white woman telling me how I'm incorrect. Like, I
Right.
at that point, it's just kind of like, you could have felt however you felt. I said that I didn't feel like the book spent as much time on joy as it could have. And then for you to insert yourself, there was plenty of joy in this book. Nobody asked you, Susan.
Right.
Nobody asked you for your 2 cents. Nobody asked you to come
There
to my
was plenty
review
of joy.
and say nothing whatsoever. And I've had a couple of those. Like, even when I read
Yeah.
the Davenports, I was pissed about the Davenports because I thought that it was a missed opportunity. Because I was confused. I was seeing so many people say, oh, yeah, it's like the Black Bridgertons. And I'm like, can we just not, like, of all things, can we not do that?
Right.
And then I just felt like it was a missed opportunity because of the historical aspect of that book is something that you would have never seen in YA before. The Black elite at the turn of the 20th century. That's an
Mhm.
interesting part of history. As a history major, I was ready to eat that up. But it
Right.
turned into more of a romance, which is fine.
Mhm.
But that was not what I said that. If you go in thinking about it as a historical romance, I think you would enjoy it more than
Yeah.
going in as a historical fiction. Had
Mhm.
some random. I have been reading historical romance for 20 years, and it's so nice to finally see Black people. I'm like, where the fuck have you been for the last 20 years? There's
Yeah,
plenty
that's
of Black
wild.
historical romance. I'm like, what the? It's stuff like that as a reviewer where people think that they're giving their 2 cents, and it's like, you should have just never turned your computer on or your phone. Because I don't know where you get your information from, but it's not working over here, and I need you to exit my space. So
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that for me, and I think a lot of people experience that as reviewers,
Yeah.
where people come in and they say stuff, and it's like, but nobody asked you.
Right.
I get that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I
one
do
thing that I
think
find
I was just gonna say it doesn't really happen to me as much. And I don't know if it's because I'm a smaller creator, if it's because I'm a smaller white creator, if it's because again, like you don't get a whole lot from me in written form. You have to actually watch my videos, which like let's be honest, random people aren't generally watching them. I don't get it as much, and I think that says something.
Yeah.
So,
One thing that is interesting is occasionally the wrong side of YouTube will find my videos and I'll get some, usually men in my comments section being upset at me for critiquing books about their bad approach to diversity, for instance, or like whatever. And so like I'll get that. I'll get these people being like, why does everything have to be woke? Like, really, like why are you just talking about this instead
No
of
offense.
XYZ? Like, Yeah.
I need people to remove that word from their vocabulary if they don't understand the
Yes.
historical background of it. I need
Yes.
you to remove it. Just
Right.
stop using it. I need everybody, like, because people claim that they never knew that woke was a word until 2020, 2021. And I'm like, this is exactly why
Right.
the educational system here in this country is failing all of us right there. I'm
Well,
sorry.
and
I
they
can't,
don't
I like
really
words.
know what it means. It's used as a dog whistle as opposed to
It's
like
used
anything
as
else.
a
It's
slur.
just
It's used as
yeah.
a general slur to mean all the other slurs without having to
Yeah.
say the slur on national television is what.
It's a way to prove once again that Black people can't have shit.
We
Right.
can't have nothing, child.
I'm sorry. I have to say it. We can't have anything.
I'm glad that you did. I didn't want to, but I was thinking it.
No. It's okay.
But
So
yeah, someone's always upset because I'm criticizing a book because it like poorly handled race or sexuality or gender or whatever, and people are like, why does that even matter? What about
Right.
it's science fiction? Did they do good science? That's what matters. I'm like, okay. Go find another reviewer. Like, I'm not free.
Brother. Well, and speaking on that, I wanted to kind of bring up, do you think that reviews should ever be called out? Like, should you call out a review? Because obviously, like Sid was saying, sometimes it does create problems, right? Sometimes it's like, okay, that's not just your opinion. That's you actually saying incredibly harmful things. Do you think that reviews should ever be called out? Is it only when they cross that line from personal opinion into, okay, now you're actively attacking people or being racist or being homophobic or any of those things? How do you feel? Or does it depend on the platform even?
I think for me, it depends on the platform because I'm not going to even lie to you. It's rare that I actually actively am dissecting other people's reviews
Right.
on Goodreads. I try not to because I want my review to remain as objective as possible in terms of how I feel and not to be influenced. Every now and then, I just would like to make sure that I'm not losing my mind on certain things. But I will tell you, when we start dipping into YouTube and Instagram, I pop the fuck off. I do. I just did. So with that being said, I do. Like if I feel like you're pushing, it's not so much about opinion anymore, and you're pushing the boundaries of just straight being problematic, and you're not being
Right.
considerate of how it could impact another community. Yeah, I'm gonna say something then. I think it's easier for me to catch it via YouTube and honestly, not even really much so Instagram. I think I'm so intertwined with people on YouTube that I see it more within the booktube community. So yeah, I do say stuff then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I think I maybe want to differentiate between like calling out and calling in. That like I think that yes, if there's something really wrong with a review, that like saying something to a peer reviewer, is valid to do, but I don't think like authors should be calling out reviewers for problematic reviews directly. I think there is a place for authors to sort of like non-specifically say, hey, here's some added information about my book in case you didn't know because some things have come up. But I don't think authors should specifically call out problematic reviewers. I do think reviewers, like, we should like speak to our peers if we know, especially if we have some kind of a relationship.
Right.
I kind of agree with Bethany. I feel like if we're speaking to each other, I feel like some reviews you can call it out and comment on some problematic words that someone say. But coming from authors, I'm going to agree with that. I don't think they should say anything. I feel like authors should not be in reviewers' space, period. So take that to the group chat.
I know. I think I unfollow people all the time. I'm so sorry, but I do because I don't want to see it. And I'm not in people's comments being like, I disagreed. I hate your hair. You're dumb. I don't leave those comments in their section. However, sometimes I feel that way and I'm like, well, I don't want to see you anymore. Goodbye. So sometimes it is just like, oh, okay. All right. Everything, I literally disagree with everything that's coming out of your mouth. So I'm just going to leave for my own peace of mind because, like, we don't have a relationship. If I cannot change my own family's minds on so many issues, I'm not going to spend my time arguing with with you. We don't know each other. We liked one book. We both liked one book, and that's our common bond. And that's not enough for me to point out to you the level of wrong that you are right now. So a lot of times I just don't even see it. If I consistently see that someone clearly we aren't going to be friends, I will usually just unfollow them. I can't think of a time. I can think of plenty of times where I saw somebody say something and I was like, no. But I can't think of a time where I was like, hey, actually, no, that's not what that book was trying to show you or any of those things. So I don't know. I think I would be more comfortable doing it for something that like really meant something to me. Like maybe even if I saw someone that I was mutuals with reviewing whatever book it was I just read. Never mind, I can't remember what it was, but it's that one nonfiction that is about the racism of Jesus and John Wayne. That's what it is.
Sorry, I'm like, there's a lot of those.
Yes, I
That
know.
one nonfiction that's about racism.
It like talks about the racism of fundamentalism and like Christian nationalism and stuff. So like that's the thing I grew up in. Like I know I grew up there. So if I feel like if someone was saying something that was completely wrong about something like that, where it's my lived experience and also it matters enough for me to correct you that like, no, they actually are racist. No, they actually are creating these problems, then I would, but that just hasn't happened to where I felt like my level of expertise, my relationship with them, any of the things overlap to where I was the one that should say something. So I don't know if that makes sense, but hasn't happened to me yet. I mean,
Sometimes it's like less in a like a bad way. Like there is a person who I do follow on Goodreads, and we always almost without fail have opposite opinions on books, which I just think is hilarious. So like if I see her negatively review a book, I'm like, I'll probably like it.
Right.
Right.
I'm sure that's how people feel about me. That's
wild to me. Have you had bad experiences with your reviews specifically? You don't have to give any specifics if you don't want to.
Has anybody has anybody been a reviewer for any length of time and not had a negative experience?
I feel like I haven't had anything terrible.
I've had several negative experiences about reviews. I had authors come in my reviews. I had readers who liked a book that I didn't give a positive review come in the reviews. Yeah, David's coming for me. Anyway.
Yes.
Especially when I reviewed that Kennedy Ryan book, boy, they was coming for my necks. And guess what? I don't give a fuck. I said what I said, and I will say it again.
Right.
That's how I feel about my review of Hidden Pictures. Like, I stand by the fact that it's like racist and transphobic as hell, and like there are people who hate that I talked about that.
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I had
That
one.
is, and it's so crazy because that review was the most reviews that I've ever had, the most shares, the most view. It had like 800 shares, and I
Listen.
can only see like 80 of them bitches. Like,
People like negativity, man. People.
They do.
Mhm.
what
I
is
don't care
going
what
on?
they say.
I was like, they were sharing it to their little friends. Look what she said. I'm like, yes, I said that.
Right.
People take it so personally sometimes.
Yes, they took it.
That's the
personally.
thing, is I'm like, you need to not make your identity merged with your favorite book. Like, you need to just like, we can like different things. It's
Say that
okay.
again. I mean, that needs to be a scripture at this point, because I'm like, and it's and people have to understand that I have my favorite authors. I have authors who are like one-click authors for me that when they drop a book, I'm gonna buy it. But guess what? I don't have to like every book that my favorite put out there. Like, I'm the type of reviewer. If the book did not speak to me, or if I didn't like the book, I'm gonna say it, even though it's my fave. Like, let's be real now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't have to like every book.
Right.
No.
And I'm not gonna sit here and say I like the book just
Right.
because it's my fave. Like,
Also,
I
none
didn't
of
like
us
it.
trust the people who never give negative reviews.
Right.
Like, the people who review
I don't trust
everything
them.
positively,
I
no
don't
one
trust
trusts them.
Right.
I don't trust them. I personally don't trust them.
Because you're not gonna love everything that you read. There's
No, of
way.
course not.
There's no way.
No.
Not everything is the most powerful, moving, important.
It's not.
It's not.
I had my negative, my wildest one was when, and it was weird because the author hopped in my reviews like months later. It was a book that had insinuated incest.
Oh, I remember this.
Yes.
Oh
And
my
there
god.
was no content. Incest for me, especially when it comes to romance, like that's a hard no for me. Like I have my hard
Let's
nose.
talking about that today. That's a no for me.
That's a no for
Right.
me. There's no way to dress that up. There's no way to make that's no. It's too much trauma associated with that. And that's whatever you I'm in the state of mind where whatever you read is what you read. That's your business. But I'm gonna tell you, if I don't want to read it, I'm not gonna read it. What pissed me off about it was that I was enjoying it and I got confused for a second because I said, I know that these two, and it was twins.
Yep.
Wait, were they black men?
No, it was black women.
Oh, whew, I thought it was the same book. I was like, wait a minute, this is I read one that was okay. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
It was two black women, and I thought the twist of it was going to be that they were fucking the same guy and didn't know it, and he didn't know that they were twins. I'd be like, oh, that shit would be lit. But it was a scene at the end where it was like the two girls when they were younger had a sexual experience together. And then it was kind of like fade to black because they were in the bedroom with this guy and they were all about the fuck. And I was like, what? I said, no, this was going so well. And I was like, if you were going to do that, you should have put like, just know that this book contains themes of incest. If that makes you uncomfortable, don't read it. So when I wrote my review, I was like, I was riding with it. And I said, but there was literally, it was the last 3 to 5 pages when I had figured it out. And I said that in my review. I said that I'm not going to lie about that, because if somebody else has trouble with that, like I would have to know going into that book. Yeah. Be mindful, because this is what's in the book. It doesn't have incest in it. That's why the book is called Taboo. So my crazy ass went and screenshotted the book from my Kindle and highlighted it, because I'm good for shit like that. If people ain't learned, I'm good for screenshotting and highlighting. Me too. Screenshot, highlight it, and put it on Twitter. So this ain't incest?
Me too.
Right. I remember.
Oh,
I remember
man.
too.
I think I remember that.
I remember
I was like,
it was,
because I thought maybe I was losing my mind. Everybody's like, no, that's definitely incest. I was like, okay. Like, so what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yep. Mm.
I thought we were talking about the same book, but this book was twins, but it was two males, and I was like, wait, are these what is going? Oh, girl, I had to let it go because I was like, yeah, I'm not comfortable with this. I was like, I had to let that go. I was like, this is not right. I just know.
No.
Yeah, and it's also just like good advertising and false advertising. If I don't want it, don't try and trick me into having it and then expect me to be happy about it.
Exactly.
Oh, man, you're getting a low review.
What I was pissed about.
And then when they call it out, you mad.
Because somebody's going to want to pick it up, but tell them what it is, you know?
Exactly. You have your readers out there who are going to read. They will read it. Trust me.
Better reviews, better overall success if people who like what you wrote are able to find that you wrote it because that's what they like, and people who don't like it can avoid it. It's a win-win-win-win. It's the win for everybody. I don't understand why they try and make it controversial with it. It's weird. What do you do for boundaries to prevent burnout? So I know, like, for me, I read books that I want to read, and I am a mood reader. So that's not just like, oh, I don't read books that I don't think I'll like or anything like that. I don't really do arcs. I barely do readathons. I don't really do read-alongs. The only read-along I'm in, I've already read all the books, and that's the only reason I agreed to it, because I know I like all the books. Like, I'm not doing assigned reading, and because for me, I am a reader, and being a booktuber is secondary to that. My hobby is reading. As much as I really, really do enjoy content creation, that completely hinges on the fact that I am still enjoying my reading. And if I can only have one, then I'm reading and you all are never seeing me again, and I'm reading 1,000 books in the next 3 years that you never heard about, and that's okay, because I'd rather read than make content. Like, it's the thing I need is reading. I like content, and that's it. So for me, it's completely about prioritizing enjoying my reading and not reading because someone wants me to read a book, not reading for video ideas, not reading because it's a theme. I literally know I cannot do that and will be miserable doing that. So I don't even try to do it.
And then there's me.
Complete opposite.
I was watching Leanna, and her it's like 18th book club pick for the month, and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't even watch you.
She does a lot. No, but like I will read books for content, and I do arcs. If I really am not enjoying a book though, and I don't care what happens, I'm totally fine with DNFing it, even if it is an arc. But I don't DNF the way Heather does.
I am at 7 book spreads for the month and 8 DNFs.
I DNF a lot. I feel I slow down on taking arcs. I used to take arcs. Right now, I slow down, and I only receive arcs for books that I really, really want to read, and I've kind of like slow down on that too, because I feel like, you know what, I'll just wait till it come out, so I don't have that pressure to, read it and have it posted by release day. And I'm all about reading what I want at this point. And then I actually took the pressure off of myself, because honestly, I used to review every book that I read. Now I don't do that all the time. And it still bothers me sometimes. I'd be like, okay, Taima, let it go. But I really slowed down on reviewing every book that I read, because sometimes I just want to read for fun, and I don't want that pressure on me to review every book. So I feel like I've included so many boundaries, because 2022, when I tell you the bookish community whooped my ass with a sick dick, I'm telling you, they beat me. So last year, shout out to Sharonda Isadora. She really talked to me about, including boundaries. And I feel like I've done a great deal of that. Whereas I do post content now, but it's not as frequently as I used to before. I just sometimes I wake up and be like, oh, damn, I ain't posted nothing in a while. Let me go post something, But
Right.
right now I'm getting back to the space where I'm reading for fun now. Like I'm reading for enjoyment now. It's not to post content. It's not to post a review. If you get a review, count yourself lucky, whatever. So that's my 5 cents.
My boundaries are that I mostly don't request NetGalley books more than 350 pages anymore because I don't like reading long e-arcs. But if it's an audiobook, it's fine. And I'm saying no to a lot more stuff that I get emailed about. I'm incredibly picky, especially about indie authors that reach out to me. I don't take most things, but I do sometimes. I get a lot more. But
also, your indie authors are not generally romance. It's usually other genres, isn't it?
It's usually like sometimes I get romance, but usually science fiction and fantasy is what I get reached out to about. And sometimes I get random things offered. I get a lot offered to me, much more than I accept, because so I am a lot pickier about like it needs to actually look like something that I think I'm genuinely gonna like. I also don't accept debut indie authors anymore. Like they have to actually have some kind of a history where I can go and look at their Goodreads reviews and like see how things have gone before. So yeah, I mean, like I have some boundaries, and I'm working on saying no more often.
Yeah.
Stuff. But like, and I try to, I mean, I do read a lot. I try to like give myself a lot of options and then mood read from within those options. And I don't put too much pressure on myself unless it's for a book club or a read along or something I'm being paid for. I don't, if I don't finish a book by the date I was going to, oh well, it gets rolled over and I do it when I get to it. So that's, yeah.
Boundaries are interesting for me because this is all I do for a living. Like in the books, like literally around books, all that, like it's all I do. I think my boundaries have been now, I don't give a fuck what everybody else is reading anymore. Like, the whole, I think reading what everybody else is reading because it gives you traction. And I just can't, I just did a video about that. I just can't do that anymore. I've been in this community too long and I feel like it's burnout. So my boundary has been, I'm going to read what I want to read. I don't care if you've never heard of it, if everybody's heard of it. Like if it's something that I want to pick up, it's what I'm going to pick up. I don't use NetGalley at all. At all.
Smart girl.
I do not like, it's just a no for me. Like I'm not, like I have a NetGalley and it's horrible and it's just, I just don't like, it's no, I mean, I get sent stuff for review, but I hope that people have understood, if you send shit to me, I hope I get to it when I get to it. There is no, oh, can you, the only time is like, I promote a lot of children's lit now.
Yeah.
So if I have a publisher reach out to me and say, hey, can we work with you on like the release of this picture book? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times in our community, especially on BookTube, I know it's getting a little better, but sometimes, and not middle grade, because everybody want to call everything middle grade and everything's not fucking middle grade. And it's not the point of this conversation, but it's frustrating when people hold up children's book, this middle grade. I'm like, no, boo, that's not middle grade. But I feel like children's lit, picture books, beginner readers, board books, they don't get a lot of love here.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of traction. And that's where a lot of us, and I'm not going to say all of us, because some of us don't discover our joy for reading until later on in life. But I feel like they don't get a lot of traction. And it's funny because a lot of us have started in those places.
Yeah.
So when I get the opportunity, exactly. Yes. Yes. So when I do get the opportunity to work with somebody or promote anything that is children, and now, I will say middle grade too, but children, middle grade picture books, I started this year where I am pushing beginner readers now, which is new, or leveled readers is what a lot
Oh,
of
that's
people know them
great.
as.
Mhm.
And so I've been working with some publishers accepting some leveled readers for review for that
Mhm.
purpose. And so yeah, my boundaries now is like when it comes to reviewing and accepting things, if it's children's lit, middle grade, any of that stuff, I'm willing to take it. YA, I get funny about YA because it can be
It's
hit
got
or
to look
miss.
really good.
It's gotta be banging in order for me to
Mhm.
take a YA and want to review it before it releases.
Yeah.
I'd have been burnt too much. I do not accept anything that's adult. If you send it to me unsolicited, that's your own, that's your money that you put into that book, and that's your postage that you wasted. Because there ain't no guarantee that I'm gonna pick it up. There's nothing in indie, unless it's children, I'm not gonna touch it. I
Mm.
say that I will not touch it at all. I just because I know me.
Well, and you do read like indie romances, but that's just
Mhm.
because
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you're just reading it.
And
You're not
and
being
that's
sent it.
yeah. I do. I read a lot of indie romance but I'm like you, Heather, though. My mood shifts. One
Mhm.
moment I'll be like, ooh, child, I want somebody getting thrown up against a wall and pounded real good because that's what type of mood I'm in. The next thing I know, I'm like, I want to read about somebody and their best friends figuring out their way through middle school. Like it's a very weird thing that I have going on, but it shifts like that. So yeah.
Mhm. That's great.
I did want to ask kind of off of that. Do you all ever feel any pressure to pick up certain books? Because I think that's talked about a lot, popular books, new releases. I personally have never felt the pressure to do so. Do I
Yeah.
think that, especially on YouTube, maybe your channel probably does grow from that? Yeah, I think it does. I think that's inarguable. However, again, I'm a reader before I'm a booktuber, and I don't want to read it. And for me too, truly, I feel like I'm what a lot of readers are. I get my books from the library and from Kindle Unlimited, and my library is a very small library. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I know in like Pennsylvania, you can do interlibrary loan, but you can't do that with new releases. It has to be like at least 6 months or a year old. So I am not ever going to be someone who's reading all of the traditionally published new releases because they're not on Kindle Unlimited and they're never like available at my library right away.
Yeah.
So there's 0% chance that I'm spending, because I would get the ebooks, that I'm spending $10, $15 per book to read a book because I want my review to be out the first week that it's out. That's never going to happen. So I don't really feel the pressure to do so, but have you personally felt pressured to do that?
I'm gonna say no. I think maybe when I first started, but we're talking almost 10
Yeah.
years ago at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like I was in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my early 30s at this point. So it's two different humans.
Right.
I think that age can be taken into consideration as well. On all platforms, that you are going to be fundamentally different in your early 20s. You even have some people who are in their late teens who are getting into this game. The issue that I have with that, with the reading for the hype, is that people are unable to have their own thoughts and opinions, which leads to not being very honest when you're giving a review.
Yeah.
Because you're reading everything that everybody else is reading. You get caught up in the hype. Everybody, quote unquote, loves the book. And I think some people feel the pressure like, oh, I must love this book too. When really,
Yeah.
you know good and damn well you ain't like that book, but you scared as hell to have a dissenting point of view because you don't want to be
That
the
part.
black sheep, and you don't want anybody to be you don't want to be called out for having a different opinion. Which is, I think that this whole mentality of, which is why I did the video that I did, because it bothers me. This whole concept of reading what everybody is reading because you get traction and that's what makes your channel grows. It takes away from what about what you want? What about what you like? What about what you love? Because the honesty, and I feel like the how do I the genuine parts of people are lost giving into that pressure. And I'm not saying you can't read what everybody else is reading, but when it becomes a thing where it's like you're constantly like, I have to pay attention to what everybody else is reading because that's is going to inform what I'm reading, I feel like there's no authenticity there anymore.
Yeah.
And then we run into these same cyclical conversations of, why do we keep saying the same 10 books by the same 10 white authors with the same 10 white characters?
Mhm.
And people, oh, I would love to read more diversity. Please don't give me that bullshit at this point, because you really don't want to do it. Because
No.
if you wanted to, you would break away.
You would
from
just do it.
You would just do it. You would just do it.
Sure.
You would just do it. It's a shame that people still have to, and I'm sorry, but it does, because all of this is connected. It's the same reason why, and I'm going to say specifically for Black people, because that's what I am. It's a shame that Black people have to go onto social media platforms and carve out their own space to give diverse book recommendations, because you see nothing but white people and white books and white characters, video after video, TikTok after TikTok, Instagram post after Instagram, like that. So this hype attitude, all of that shit is connected. All of that pressure, all of it is interconnected.
Well, I don't read traditionally published books that much. It might be a few that I may pick up. I'm an indie romance girl, Black indie romance girl. So I'm going to always go hard for Black indie romance. And I think when I first joined the book community, I had this pressure to like read because you want to be the first one to drop a book. You understand? I feel like I had that pressure when I first started, that I wanted to be the first one to drop a book. A book review, but now I don't care much anymore. I mean, I feel like I've been in a space now for a while where I know the burnout that can come from that, and I now focus on what I want to read. Like I'll get to it when I get to it, and my TBR is long as hell. So, and it's Black romance books dropping by the hundreds every day. You understand? Like every time I turn around, I'm like, God dang, I can't catch up. Like I'm behind. So there are a few traditionally published books that I picked up. Like I picked up Black Candle Women and The Neighbor Favor. Those both didn't work for me at all. It didn't work for me.
The Neighbor Favor did not work that well.
No, it didn't.
Black Candle Women didn't work for me, and The Neighbor Favor didn't work for me. So I have reviews coming probably next week. Don't hold me to that. Maybe next week, week after next. It's gonna come though. But but like I said again, it's Black indie romance over here. That's what I primarily read. I'm gonna jump and pick up a little other stuff, but I don't have that pressure anymore. I read whatever I want to read. And I was just talking to my friends today about it, and we were like, you know what, we'll just get to it when we get to it. Like it is what it is. There's so many books coming out, and I don't have that pressure to read the newest book coming out. Like I don't care. Like let me go back and show you this book that came out a month ago, a year ago, that nobody talks about. Like let's let's highlight other books. We don't always have to be talking about the same book all the time. And I get that on multiple platforms. So, but
yeah.
Well, I also think too, people, they want, or reviewers specifically, you want to be the person that people go to for reviews, right? We want to be somebody's favorite. We want people to watch what we do, or to appreciate what we do, or to hype us up. We do.
Yeah.
We do. However, there is no creator that's reading all of the things for all of the people. It does not matter what the book is. You're not the only one reviewing it. Even if you're a beta reader, you're not the only one reviewing it. And you cannot drive yourself into the ground. You cannot stay ahead of all of the releases. It's impossible. So why would you do that? Trying to do something which, truthfully, for a community and an industry, that when you stop creating your content, they will move on like you never existed.
Like you never
existed. Present.
So why are you destroying your mental health?
Exactly.
For that? There's no reason.
They will pay you Nevada dust the next day. Okay?
Right.
Like You can't get caught up in this. Like, you have to do what you want to do, because 1 minute when you're not doing something that somebody likes, they pay you dust, and then they move on to the next person who's giving them what they need. So at this point, just do you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say when I first started, I felt more pressure to pick up stuff that everybody else was reading because I was new to it, and that's how you get into things, I guess. At this point, though, I read I mostly just read what I want to read, or the things that are important to me. Like, if I'm going to say yes to anything, like if it's queer or by like a Black or Indigenous person of color author, I'm probably going to prioritize it more. If it's in one of the genres I like to read, if it's got tropes I like, I'm going to prioritize it more. Like, so those are things that I prioritize if I'm accepting books for review or looking for things that I want to talk about, because I know that they're not probably getting the same amount of publishing push, especially in like science fiction and fantasy, which are the places that I read the most, some romance. But I think there are times, though, that I will choose to make a video about a hyped book, sometimes maybe a book that everybody loves that I think sounds terrible, for content, because people want to watch negativity, and sometimes I'll do that, and like, but I want to do that, and I choose when I'm going to do it. I don't do it like because it's super hyped. Like, I did that for the Zodiac Academy book, which was terrible.
Right.
I'm gonna agree with you. People wanna watch negativity, though. I totally agree with that. Like, once you dragging a book, or you calling out somebody, or you talking something, you're gonna get it. Like, they coming in by the thousands because they want to hear that drama. So
yeah,
I see the hype for doing it.
Yeah.
I think some people, not Monty, we're not talking about Monty. Some people only 1-star books. And sometimes you're like, are they all the worst thing that you've ever read? All of them? That to me is inauthentic as well, where it's like, okay, you know you don't like the popular books. Why are you consistently picking them up every single month to do a rant review? Like, I believe
fun. I don't get that. I mean, it's one thing if every once in a while you're like, people say they like this, I don't think it's going to be that good, let me read it and see what I think. Like, I will do that from time to time, but it's it's like a minority of the books that I read. Most of the books I pick up, it's because I think I'm going to like them.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm going to stop picking up books just because the cover is cute, because I did that and baby, I got dragged. Okay.
Always. It's the ones with the prettiest outside.
I know. It's true.
I got dragged, and I know I'm gonna bring this up, and I ain't gonna talk about it no more. I'm not talking about it no more, but I'm still on the fact that I read Black Candle Women, and a dark-skinned woman was on the cover, and that grandma in the books, she was high yellow. So I'm gonna need y'all to stop putting these dark-skinned people on the cover, and when you get in the book, they ain't dark-skinned.
That's disappointing.
I'm just saying.
Disappointing. That was on my list.
It didn't do me right. It didn't do me right at all.
That's a beautiful cover.
The cover is gorgeous. Beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns.
It's always a bummer when there's something like, you know what has a beautiful cover that's like gonna be one of my most disappointing books of the year is The Witch and the Vampire. It's this like supposed to be a queer Rapunzel retelling.
Oh yeah, the cover of that one is gorgeous too.
And you say you think it's gonna be a disappointment?
It is. It's not very.
These covers be playing you for. Yeah.
Also, Rapunzel wear. Really? How is it a Rapunzel retelling? It's a stretch.
Aggressively, okay. I like that.
I'm sorry. Monty, I think that's being generous. Aggressively okay is being a little
love
generous.
that. I'm sorry.
The Witch, it's
okay. I'm using that one. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, good. It's the Witch and the Vampire by Francesca Flores.
They're not
very
all good.
disappointing.
Sometimes it's
They're
bad.
not.
Okay, so this actually does
Okay.
bring up a point that I wanted to ask. Does the identity of the author and or the representation, but mostly the identity of the author, ever influence your review? Not your rating, but your review. So whether that's because they're a marginalized author of some sort or because they're a best-selling author, so you're like, okay, I don't mind taking my time telling you how much I hate it because I'm not actually hurting the author. I know, like, for me, my ratings are accurate. They're not influenced by that at all. But if I'm mutuals with them, I'm probably not going to spend 10 minutes telling you how much I hated their book. I mean, they're still going to get the rating that they got, which was not a good rating, but I'm also not going to be, I don't know, dramatic about it for my audience, I guess. And or for me, I will DNF a lot of books because I know it's not going to be a good review, and I don't really want to do that to the author. So I'm just like, this never happened. I didn't read you. I'm just curious if anyone else does things like that. Not that your review isn't honest, because
Yeah.
it is. But
I'll
just
be more
you
cautious.
ever,
Like
yeah.
if it's a marginalized author like with an identity I don't share, I will be more cautious in how I review it, and I'll check other people's reviews before I say what I'm going to say, especially if it's more negative. Like see, okay, what are like Own Voices reviewers saying? What have they said about it? And I'm more likely to give them a little bit more benefit of the doubt. I'm still going to be honest about it, but I might frame it differently and be like, hey, like, here's what I think they were trying to do. Here's why it didn't work so well for me. But so I'm more cautious in those scenarios and how I talk about things. But yeah, I don't know. And also I think if it's like an indie author, like a self-published author, I might maybe bump their rating by like a half star. Like, I don't know. So I give like a little bit of leeway where like I don't well, it's because I know that there are people, especially if they're early on, who maybe like don't have the same resources. So if it's like things where I'm like, okay, this was good, it could have been a little bit better with like an better editor, but I know they don't have the resources for that. Like I'll give a little bit of I don't know. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Anybody can get it. I'm sorry. Everybody gets to see anybody can get it over here, okay? I don't care. I feel like I give everybody the same, we all equal here. So white, black, it doesn't matter. I'm honest in every review. That's just it. That's just the way it is. Now, when it comes to me being mutuals with authors, I don't tag them. But you're gonna get my honest review, and I feel like my reviews are never disrespectful. I am very tactful. I am honest, straight to the point. And if the book was not good, then I'm gonna say that.
Right.
But anybody can get it here.
Right.
I am the same way. Now what I give constructive criticism on in terms of like, let's say I read an indie book and it has misspellings. I'm not gonna go as hard in terms of them maybe not having access to an editor. That won't be something, and it's not typically something that I would go looking for in an indie published book. But when it comes down to the meat of it, plot, character development, pacing, whether I think the writing was fluid or not, it's gonna be like I'm gonna review everybody the same. Just because for me it's a trust thing when it comes down to, I know how much at this point people trust me in terms of my recommendations and reviews.
Yes.
And I don't ever want to break that trust with the people who come to me for those recommendations and reviews. I'm very also intentional about not getting cozy with authors at all. Like I just don't. I have people who follow me who I may follow, but in terms of like interactions, I keep them super limited, because while I may love one book that you write, You
Exactly.
may turn around and write another one, and I'll be like, oh, hell no. Like, this wasn't. And I've had that experience where I've enjoyed an author, one book that they've written and another book, and I'm like, yeah, it just didn't work. And so to keep it as non-biased as possible, I don't have friendships with authors. I do not talk very frequently with authors on social media at all. Like, it's another reason why I'm even so, like, I want to do more author interviews, but I'm hesitant about that too, because I just don't want to set any, I don't know, I don't want to set any expectations. And I know some people are more comfortable with having relationships and friendships with authors, and that's perfectly fine. I just know for me, and I don't know how many people know, but I feel like I say it all the time, like, I want to professionally review.
Yeah.
If I ever stop doing library work, or I could technically do it in conjunction with my library work right now, you cannot have any relationships with anybody, because they have to maintain the integrity, especially with these journals that inform how these retailers purchase their books or how libraries purchase their books. It has to be as objective as possible. And so for me, I think I just try to practice that and come with as much honesty as possible, because this is what I want to do for the long run.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that. I feel like last year I kind of like slowed down on building relationships with authors because of a situation that I had last year. And I think that's the reason why myself and my co-hosts decided that we weren't going to do author interviews on our podcast anymore, that we were going to just keep it reviewer focused because of what happened last year when we reviewed a book and it went haywire. And everybody knows our podcast, we are very honest about our reviews. So I agree with you, Ash, when it comes to developing relationships with authors. Like, that is,
it's tricky.
I don't do that. I learned my lesson.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, just about the author thing, like, I do some author interviews. I have a couple of friends, a few friends who are authors, and if I ever read their books, I disclose that I have a relationship with them. If it's somebody I'm friends with and I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about their book and we're actually genuinely friends, I probably just won't read it. Like, I'll just buy it and support them. I have done that if I'm not 100% sure how I would feel about it. But there are people where someone wants to know the name of your podcast.
Oh, it's called Brazenly Shady Podcast.
Nice.
We can link it later, or I can share it in my stories later.
Love it.
This is I think other co-host is the commenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I am picky, like, for my channel and also with the podcast I co-host. We're picky about which authors we will bring on. Like, I get pitched authors to come on the podcast a lot that I don't accept because I don't really want to interview people where I'm not sure how I feel about their books. The people that I bring on, it's because I know who they are. We've read from them. I'm cautious about that. And so it's not just anybody, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. Like, I have had authors that I've known that I didn't give their books perfect reviews, and I don't know how they felt about it. I didn't tag them in it, but
I think I get nervous because I have found because I wanted to. I know I had said in my goals for this year that I wanted to start doing author interviews, but I think I changed my mind about it because I have found authors have found my reviews, and even when it's positive, I just can't interact, and they're not tagged, and I'm still trying to figure out like how, like, somebody has either retweeted, like when I give a review on Goodreads, they're not tagged in it. And I know somebody said earlier, Goodreads used to automatically, and they don't do that anymore. But I've had authors retweet my reviews that I've given on Goodreads, and I'm like, we don't follow each other. So there are authors who do actively look, and so I just get paranoid about that because, like I said, like, going back to, like, I may like it now, but I also know that there's potential for me not to like something. I just don't want to have that. And with this
Right.
question, I will not read it at all. Don't ask me to be a beta reader. Don't ask me to read your art. Don't ask me to read the final copy unless you want me to be honest. And at that
Right.
point, you're putting a relationship on the line.
Yeah.
I'll do it if I'll be honest. I mean, I just beta read for Neeks.
Right.
I couldn't. I couldn't bring, and it's not because, like, you know, it's not about whether I think the person could write or not. It's just
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, same.
For me, I know I have several author friends, Neeks included, who friends first and then they've become an author. And the couple times that's happened, when I first bring the attention to the book, I say, hey, this is a mutual. But usually the first thing that I'm saying is in my anticipated releases videos. So I haven't read the book at that point, and I don't do arc reading for them or anything like that. And then if I like the book of a mutual, whether that's because I started reading their books and we became mutuals because they're a small indie author, we're, you know, things like that, or because we were mutuals first and then they wrote the books. If I like their book, I'll DM them and say, hey, I loved your book. And the only time that you'll see me interacting with authors in my videos is when I invited them into the space. I was like, hey, I loved your book in this video, or hey, I'm telling people that your book is coming out in this video, which is not very often. It's usually, like I said, we're mutuals, and then they might comment, thank you so much for including my book. And for me, like, that is where they were invited in. If they're commenting on my review or coming and trying to find my review or asking me how I liked the book or anything like that, to me, then we have crossed a line that I'm no longer comfortable with, and I'm not going to read your book. And it's not that I'm going to stop being your friend necessarily, but I'm not going to be your reader because you've breached what I was comfortable with. So for me, it's very much, you're not coming to see what I did. I'm telling you, I liked the book, and or I DNF'd it, and or I never picked it up because, again, I DNF it all the time. And that's just a really easy way. And I DNF so early too. If you're my mutual and the first chapter, I'm like, oh, this is not good. Again, nobody has to know. Nobody knows.
I feel like I'll read a book from a mutual who turned author, but I feel like at this point, everyone knows that I'm very honest with my reviews. And if I liked a book and I had caveats about it, I've done it before where I've inboxed them and be like, hey, I like this book, but I feel this is where, you know, I had some issues. And if you have a problem with that, then I won't post the review based on the fact that we actually were mutuals. So, but I'm thinking about stopping reading them, period, though, like, because it's just one of the other boundaries I'm trying to add to my list, but we shall see.
I think beta reading too is different than reviewing because it's private. I don't rate books that I beta read. And like the whole point of it is to give useful feedback. And so I feel like in theory, you should be entering it knowing that you're going to get criticism. Like, yeah, I'll tell you the things I like, but I'm also going to tell you the things that I think could be better, because otherwise I'm not doing my job as a beta reader.
Well, that is
I don't usually do
too, because they asked you for your feedback.
Exactly.
And that's a different thing.
Yeah. And people who really want it can hire me for it too. Neeks did not. I just did it for her because I like her. We're friends. But but other people can pay me for it if they want to.
I think for this, there's this one author. There's this one author that I follow on Twitter, and I followed her before I read her book. And then I kind of had a negative review of her book. And then she commented on my review, and arguably she had a point. Like, she was basically saying that in the new edition of the book, that was changed and Amazon wasn't giving out the new edition or whatever.
Yeah.
But I won't read her again because I was like, oh, this is not a safe space. Never mind. And I still follow her. I still interact with her, but I'm not reading her. So that's one of those things where I'm not holding against you. I don't think you're the worst person in the world because you did maybe do something I wasn't completely comfortable with, but you didn't really know. But I'm also not going to keep putting myself in that same situation with you over and over again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Makes sense.
I also think that sometimes we have these lines only after we do have a bad experience.
Yes.
Like you find a lot of reviewers
Yes.
don't do it anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Do you think lying in reviews is common? Because I think people say this a lot.
Absolutely. Now, you want to talk about lying? We just copy and paste shit. So inevitably, you're lying.
You know. Okay, so these are my thoughts. Let's say I post a review, and I'm posting a review after someone has read the same book that I posted a review of. At this point, if I post my review and you jump in my inbox and tell me, yeah, I agree with what you said, but your review doesn't reflect that, that's a problem for me, because why you lying? Like, why you just can't say how you feel about the book? Like, I get that.
I don't understand that.
I get that so many times. Oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I didn't like that about the book. I didn't like. Don't come in my inbox with that foolishness. Put that on your page, because why you ain't say that?
Right.
It don't make no sense to me. Like, why you gotta lie? You ain't gotta lie, Craig. Like, just be real. I mean, just be real. Just say what you have to say. Like, but I get that so many times when I post a review and everyone's commenting, oh yeah, I agree with that, or they're in my inbox. But when I read your review, you ain't said nothing that you agreed with me. Like, the math ain't mathing for me. I
think you can tell. Like, I think you can tell the reviews that are not telling the whole truth. Or the people who are just constantly positive. Like, I think you can kind of tell. I do think there's a weird thing in romance in particular, especially indie romance, where there is traditionally seems like there are people who think that it's good etiquette to just always be positive.
Yes.
Which I think is part of the problem.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
My favorite is the pen is wicked. Like, what that mean? Like, the pen is wicked. Like, and I'm sitting there like, but you said, okay. Okay. Yes, but
yeah,
each his own.
I did used to be more generous with my reviews. So sometimes, like, I'll talk about a book that I read like 3 or 4 years ago that I'm like, oh yeah, this was like problems with it, and I'll go and be like, why did I give it 4 stars? 4 stars meant something different to me then than it does now.
That's true for me too. My ratings have evolved over time, and what I rated it before isn't necessarily what I would do today.
Yeah.
I think this connects to your previous question about the pressure, because it's keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of it is keeping up with a certain persona. It's that authenticity piece. That's what I keep saying. It's all interconnected. Like, people are not 100% honest about how they feel about books, or else we wouldn't have this thing with, I feel pressure to like all the hype books. Or in my case, we just fucking cut, copy, and paste reviews of people because, whether we are trying to meet a net galley quota, whether we feel like we're trying to break out and make it into the scene, I don't know. But I think I just get so bothered by it because I was like, why lie about the way how do y'all function in relationships outside of social media?
Seriously.
You lie your way through your relationships? You must. How can you sit there?
It probably ain't no relationship, child.
Ain't no relationship. Let me tell you something. And I'm gonna speak for BookTube. All right. A lot of people in this community ain't got no relationships outside of this damn screen, and it shows every day.
It shows.
every day. Like, really, y'all need to go. You can go outside now.
Go touch some grass.
Please smell the air. Something. Y'all ain't got no friends, and it shows every damn day. And I'm just so confused. Like, this can't be your whole life. The internet cannot be all that you aspire to be in life.
No.
An internet personality reading books, be for fucking real.
Right.
Like, I just want people to be real about this shit. So
Be for real.
you trying to make you trying to become famous for reading books. I will never understand that. I think a lot of it has to do with reading hype stuff. I think that people feel like in order to be considered a real reader, there's a certain quota, the number of books that they have to read. So half the time people not really reading shit.
No,
because sometimes I watch people and be like, damn, well, I read that book. Did we read? Not in feelings.
All the time. I'm like,
did we read the same damn book?
I'm like, I didn't get that. But okay, girl, go off.
Did you read the back of the book before you showed it on your channel? No, not at all. People lie every fucking day in this community, okay? All right? I've been here for 10 years almost. Every day somebody is lying.
Right.
Reviews ain't a stretch.
I was just talking to my friends about it, and I was like, y'all really on here lying about reading books? Come fucking on. It's books, bitch. Like,
yeah. Although, you know what's annoying is the people who then assume that I'm lying about the books that I'm like, read my freaking reviews if you don't believe that I'm actually reading all the books I read, just because some people decide to lie about it.
Right.
That's annoying.
I think a lot of times, truthfully, people assume the people they don't like are lying, and the people they do like are completely authentic. And it's just who you like is basing your opinion.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
I can see that.
Of lying.
But some people I do like, I'd be like, I don't know, girl. I read that book and that ain't sound okay.
Like, what's even the point? They're not like, publishing isn't paying us.
They're not paying us.
Damn.
Like, my patrons are paying me. So, like, I will read books because my patrons want me to read stuff. Publishing isn't paying me to do shit. Like,
a dime, not a red cent. Not a red cent.
Right.
And some of it's weird.
Some of it's like very small things that they're selling their soul for, and it's like it's 200
selling their soul.
Again, people who don't know this.
Heather, look at this.
Wait, this comment though. I know that someone is straight up lying about how much they're reading because they pay me to write a review for their channel.
Paid you to write a review for their channel.
What?
Oh my god.
What?
Well, you can't.
I know someone
just drop that on us. That's
what is this?
Who has that kind of money and or time?
Well, listen, there are a few people.
Heavens.
Right? Wait, thank you, Bethany. Just wait, because there are who have the time.
You'll be surprised.
I do have a name in mind, but you know.
That is crazy.
That is truly. I
will say, like, I do know there are people who have the time and the money who've definitely plagiarized reviews because they don't actually read everything. So it does happen.
I think that is horribly sad that for a lot of us, something that is a comfort and a passion and has gotten a lot of us through some rough moments in our life has turned into this. Like, I hate to see that this now is just, I don't know. It's like I ask people, do you even really fucking like to read?
Right.
Do you like to read at all? Because at this point, like, why do you feel like you must lie to maintain? Read what you, but it's man, it's that wanting to get the numbers and be famous and, you know, reading what you want to read. You don't feel like it's not a big enough payoff. And that shit is sad, man. That shit is. Oh, there are people who read Goodreads reviews too and put pieces and parts together and shoot a whole fucking wrap up. I done seen that too.
Sure.
Or read the Wikipedia page about a book.
That too, and get shit wrong. I have never.
Wikipedia.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Read
Oh yeah.
Wikipedia.
There's also quite
And
a few
sometimes
people.
if the Wikipedia page happens to get some facts wrong, and so then their review gets those facts wrong.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm not getting none from Wikipedia. Nothing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I always think it's interesting too, where you have people putting a book on their TBR and you have the wrap up, and it's the same thing that they said when they put it on their TBR. They didn't add any more details other than that they loved it. And or it's like just what other booktubers said, especially more popular booktubers or like friend groups will just reiterate the same thing and I'm like, why am I watching more than one of your channels? Because they're identical. There's no reason for me to be here.
Groupthink is an issue, I think, in our community. I really do think, and I'm not saying that we can't share feelings, but it becomes a point where it's like, there's no way, like that. It just like nobody had a single different thought or feeling, like this, and even down to so you couldn't even find synonyms.
Right.
Exactly. To say this like differently, like nothing.
Yes.
I'm gonna start giving authority. Well, let me tell you, when people have their wish list, I'm gonna start doing. You know how you can send people gifts that's not on their wish list? I'm gonna start passing out the sources. That way, people can find different words. Yeah, you can. You can look. You can work around. If you add something, once you send somebody something, like Bethany, I can send you something to your address. That's not on your list.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah,
that is useful. Okay. Cool.
But then you have to buy them something in the first place.
Child, it might be worth it. If y'all get a thesaurus, I promise it's not for me. Okay, all right.
Y'all, I don't know if y'all are paying attention in the comments to like possibly who it was that might have paid for a review. But
okay.
Can I see? Okay, wait. Who is that?
I saw
he's got like 1 million subscribers, so like he's making money. He could pay for it.
Just get out of some shit.
He's always in something, to be honest.
I don't really follow him, but he's got
one time where he had romance Twitter eating him alive was a wild time. And I even agreed with him, and it was a wild time.
What in the world is going on? Y'all just, I want to just stay in my corner.
It's a lot of the really, really large channels that are making. Oh, there was a Patreon scandal. Oh boy. Listen, I'm telling you, like I don't know that there's I don't know that there are a lot of, I mean, there may be some, but like a lot, like I know of quite a few very large channels that are making a lot of money from what they do, that there's some sketchy stuff that's gone on behind the scenes. So,
trying to make it in the world to reading books. Listen, I don't think it helps either sometimes. With like the switching of content, like the whole thing that we're seeing now with lifestyle people switching to booktubers.
Oh God.
And it just, I don't know, y'all. I can't take anybody seriously if I'm going to your wrap up and literally it is a synopsis of the book and it was so great. Where the fuck was the review? I can get a stack of books and stand in the video and say, oh my God, this was so good. I love the characters. And people love it, and people eat that shit up, and I'm like, but why?
Why? What about the characters that you like? And
I don't know.
They be eating it up. I'd be like,
I will just say this, like most people cannot live off BookTube without secondary income or partner's income. However, there are some the biggest creators can. Like they are making bank. Like
1% of booktubers can.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild how much some of them are making. Not all of them, but like I know some, I can't really talk specifics, but I know some numbers for a couple people and it's a lot. So yeah, like
Oh no, Monty.
Oh no.
This is amazing. This is the best.
This
I'm
is
so
this
glad
is
we
a
came
lot
back
to
to
do
this.
this evening.
Oh my word. Okay. What would you tell people who are trying to start being reviewers, whether that is BookTube, Book Talk, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads? If they're starting out, what would you tell them? Because I know I would tell them that you don't have to be all things to all people. And not only does that mean you don't have to read all the books, or you don't have to know all the things about every single author and their problematic behavior. You don't have to be on every platform. You don't have to create content for YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, StoryGraph, NetGalley, Edelweiss. You don't have to do all of it, and you
No.
can't. It is unreasonable to think that you will be able to do those things every day consistently and read books every day and be able to maintain that. You're not going to be able to do all the things. So pick one or two things that you really enjoy and focus your time and energy on those platforms. Again, preferably with the books that you want to read, because otherwise you're racing towards the finish line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
I think just start. Just do it. Just start like writing reviews for the books you're already reading. Get a feel for it. You'll learn as you go. Like, don't try to do everything all at once. Take your time and, go for it. I don't know. I just think too, you the more you do it, the more you'll find what your own review style is, play with things, see like what are the things you care to talk about, what are the things that don't interest you, because like we all end up finding our different styles for how we review.
I
I'd
would
just say review books that you want to read and just be honest.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what nobody else has to say. Review what you want to read and be honest. Fuck everybody else. That's how I feel. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And don't expect to start and feel like the pressure to be amazing, because you're not like we all start terribly. I mean, honestly,
I feel like I'm still terrible. I feel like I'm still terrible.
No, but I mean, like we all start somewhere, and little by little you grow and you learn and you improve, and there's always room to grow. But
I think
start where you're
too,
at.
if you are going to make content, you are probably going to feel like it's terrible. So give yourself like 2 edits or this much amount of time to do it, or whatever it is. Like if it's an Instagram post, only fiddle with it so much. If it's a YouTube video, I do 2 edits. I do 2 edits for everything. I cut all the big chunks out the first time around. Second time around, I put in my covers and things like that and edit out smaller things I missed the first time. And that's it. Because if I keep going over it, I will despise my every mannerism, my every choice of words, the way I breathe. Like, you cannot hyperfixate on yourself because you're your own worst critic. There's already so many things about yourself that you dislike that nobody else even notices. I am not going to someone's YouTube channel and being like, wow, their nose or their eyelashes, or why do they say every 2 words? Like, one, you can edit that out.
I do that. For those who don't edit, I'd be like, but why?
You could have edited it. We didn't have to know this about you.
Listen.
I agree.
I don't know, Heather. There are people who decide they don't like you and they're going to pick apart your speech patterns and go write about it places. So that does happen.
Well, you can't go those places. Just
no, it's true. And then people tell you about it. I don't go those places, but like then people occasionally tell me about it, and I'm like, don't tell me these things, because now I'm gonna like fixate on the words I use.
Some of it is as simple as, would I say that to you in your comment section? If I would never say that to you, I can't let you saying it to me bother me, because you're already being rude on like a level that I would not have been. And so I don't respect your opinion. I don't care about your opinion, because I would have never done what you just did. You were so rude. For what? Nobody asked for your opinion.
They don't do it in your comments. They do it other places. Right. But then if someone comes and tells you about it, this is why I don't want to know about it.
I would like to add find somebody that you trust, because I have somebody that I trust that before I even post content, I send it to them and I'd be like, hey, can you look this over with? Can you look this over for me? Because I just find somebody that you trust that can look over your content and just to make sure you have everything, no grammatical errors, no misspelling and stuff like that. You know, sometimes stuff happens and you miss stuff, so you just need an extra eye.
Sure.
So, yeah, just have somebody in your corner that you trust.
Good job.
I think, like, circling back to, like, be honest. Like, be honest with what you put out and be honest with yourself, because nobody has to sleep with you besides you at night. Nobody wakes up with you. I mean, if you have a partner or people in your whatever, but what I'm saying is that, like, your mind, you are stuck with your mind all day, all night, all morning, whatever. And I promise you, keeping up with the Joneses and creating a persona that is not reality, it will burn you the hell out.
Baby, say that again.
It will cause you more stress in your personal life. It will cause more issues in your personal life than what is even necessary, because you're trying to follow all these people up.
Yep.
Honesty is the best way, and people will see past the facade quicker than what you think.
Right.
They will. As much as you think you're fooling the world because it's the internet, I promise you, people will be able to sniff out.
People know
all the bullshit. At some
just
point,
because they're not saying it to you doesn't mean they're not saying it to somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're going to start a channel, I don't know, Dream Pearl, if you have a channel or anything. If you're going to start a channel, start with your phone. Start with what you already have. Yep. I still use my phone, and I'm 3 years in, which a lot of people don't, and I think that that's legitimate. But for me, I'm not spending money on my booktube channel. I'm not. So I bought a tripod when balancing it on a laundry basket on my bed was definitely not working. So I did that like pretty early on. But like, that's it. I would never recommend to buy anything really to start the channel, because you might make 2 videos and you might hate it. You might make, I mean, what is it? With Cindy, didn't they change their channel name? They're still using the iPhone. Just don't spend money on a channel, especially if you don't know. Even like Canva. I still use the free Canva. Like, I mean, you do whatever you want, but you don't have to spend money to make content. Pretty much if you have access to the internet, you already have what you need, and start with the basics. Don't buy stuff.
I've slowly upgraded over the years. Like, I started with what I had for free. I started with iMovie for editing. I started with like whatever. And then I've slowly upgraded. Like, I do use my iPhone for some stuff, but I do have like a nicer camera now. Like the Sony ZV-1. It's like a flip camera. I've got a ring light. I've got like a nicer webcam. I use the paid version of Canva. So like, but I've been doing it for almost 6 years, and I was a couple years in before I started slowly acquiring more of that equipment. So, I mean, I think you start with what you have, and then if it continues and picks up and you like it and you want to invest in it, you can invest in it. So
I want to comment on that free Canva, because it's people out there using the paid Canva too, and for some reason, everybody manages to pick the same template. Yeah. And I'm like, God damn, like,
you're paying for it and you're still using the same shit.
They're still using the same shit. So it's like, damn, girl.
No, you know what I use? I'll tell you what I use the paid one for mostly is the sort of Photoshop tools. Like, because it'll like pull your photo out. That's the main feature that I paid for it for, like upgraded for.
Right.
I use other stuff too, but that's the biggest one.
Can we go back to Erin's comment, please?
Sure.
Which one?
That one right there.
Okay.
Y'all, please stop doing this, because some of y'all credit scores is in the pits of hell. And y'all out here doing 50, 60 book hauls a month.
These book hauls.
Right.
And I'm confused as to why. I'm like, oh, you're doing a book all about that credit score, babe. Like, you know, it's amazing. You don't know when you get in this community, and I'm saying this too for YouTube, as a Black creator, okay? There's no guarantee that you are going to explode the way you see some other people exploding. So do not put money into creating any channel until you make that money first.
Yeah.
Do not put that money, because I'm not going to lie to you. In this community for years, and it will be like this, it is only but a handful of us that are going to surpass that 50K mark. Okay.
Right.
And even then, it's under certain circumstances, affiliations, associations, and what you're reading.
Yeah.
It is a waste of time to invest that money when you are not guaranteed a turnaround whatsoever. It's not worth it in the end. Not worth starting your channel, but putting that money into it.
Right.
I have seen people do this shit. I just had to make a comment about that because I know that for a fact. But
and I know people have a lot of flack about Kindle Unlimited. Let me tell you something. I'm a Kindle Unlimited soldier right here. I will limit you to death. You understand? If the book ain't on Kindle Unlimited, 10 times out of 10, I ain't reading it.
Right.
And I don't. And I'm sick of free with Kindle Unlimited. Bitch, this ain't free because I pay for this every month. Kindle Unlimited is not free. Stop saying free with Kindle Unlimited because I'm paying for this shit.
Right.
So it ain't free, but I do a bulk of my reading on Kindle Unlimited. I'm at the point right now where I read ebooks. Like, it's very hard for me to pick up a physical book right now and read it because I'm so used to the ebooks. So, and I like Kindle Unlimited because it gives me access to these new authors, and some of them be dropping some bangers. Y'all be sleeping on these. Listen, they be dropping bangers, okay?
Right.
Bangers. So
Yes.
I'm a stand 10 toes down with my Kindle Unlimited. I'm gonna need y'all to stop these advertisements with free with Kindle Unlimited because I'm paying for this bitch every month.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Well, and again, same thing with it, about just not spending money that you don't have to be a book creator. I know it's a thing, but like, for the love of God, I don't put books on my TBR, like, so rarely, like under 12 times a year probably do I put a book on my TBR that's not on Kindle Unlimited or not my library. Because you know what? If I don't add it to Goodreads, if I don't add it to my TBR, I forget about that book. I'm not sitting there like, oh, I just really wish maybe I should spend the money on this. I forgot. My TBR is so long. I never even added you. I don't remember you. And my life is fine. I still have more books than I can read. Like, just have that be your front entrance.
The Oklahoma City Metropolitan Library. Shout out to the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Library because they be holding me down. I know they sick of my face, but I don't care. Because when I tell you I be in the library, I be like, hey, y'all got this book? And the Midwest City branch, they hold me down every time. So between the library and Kindle Unlimited, I'm straight. I'm straight.
There's always books to read.
I just feel like too that here's the thing, because y'all know as a librarian, this is what makes me hot. And I'm not talking about outside of the US because I know that access to libraries is different globally.
Yeah.
And it is different in the US depending upon, like, you know, rural areas and funding and stuff like that. But for the love of God, y'all, you've got to understand that the funding that your library gets is also dependent upon you as a member of your community. Okay. Like, if your library ain't hitting the way you want it to hit, that's when you start talking to your elected officials about how your library needs more money. You start checking out stuff. I always tell people, like, checking out and getting those CERC numbers is very contingent sometimes for libraries in terms of their funding. It is a necessary thing. Like, sometimes they're not able to get everything the latest and the greatest because they have to pay the people who are working there. Sometimes your libraries can't get 15, 30, 50 copies of a book because they don't have the money, because their communities don't see the value of putting their money into the library. So before you walk around and say, my library is trash, if I see another booktuber say my library is trash and you not writing to your local legislation,
Right.
I don't want to hear anything come out of your fucking mouth at that point.
Right.
True.
At all. Like nothing else needs to be said, because that's, for me as a librarian, that's so offensive, because knowing how hard some librarians work to make sure that they have a robust collection for the users, even when they don't. And I'm talking as someone who works in collection development, whose budget got cut by $1.1 million this fiscal year. So I know what it's like to have to stretch money to make sure that I'm still getting the things that my community needs. And so when people say stuff like that, I'm like, if you know how this shit works in the background, you would have a little bit more respect for what your library is doing or what they're trying to do with a little bit of money that they have.
Yeah.
You better let them know.
Child, these people be pissing me off. Whole motherfucking library and be complaining about how their library. My library doesn't have shit. Well, have you talked to anybody about why your library doesn't have shit? Like, have you tried to communicate this with anybody, or are you just gonna get on the internet
and talk shit?
Yeah.
I love my library. I even work with the Friends for the Library. We just had a book sale like 2 weeks ago. And maybe they have me working, but I love when the Friends of the Library book sale come around, because baby, I ain't gonna complain about the books going from 50 cents to $1, but I'm just saying. But I'm just saying, books went up. Inflation is crazy, but I enjoy every year when the Friends of the Library sale come around, because baby, I be eating it up. And they had so many indie books this year. I was just excited.
A lot of libraries are changing their policy surrounding indie books, because so many collection management policies, we typically have to have reviews from professional sources to that's why people are like, well, why can't you get this book? Because if it's not professionally reviewed, we have to be able to cover ourselves, because we may not know what's in a book. And with book bans and book challenges becoming such a thing,
makes sense.
It's so, like, I've had to sit on 3 committees already this year, because I am the sole purchaser for children and teen materials for my entire system.
Wow.
So anytime a children or teen item gets challenged, I have to sit on the panel to justify why I'm not pulling it off. And so having reviews is for stuff like that, it becomes a line of defense. But we've tried to become more lenient with indie, because we feel like we're missing so many good authors who are not going to have the money to say, Kirkus, can you review my book for me? That way libraries can you know what I'm saying? So it's good that libraries are changing their collection management policies to reflect how many indie authors are putting out such amazing, and have been for such a long time, but they're changing to keep up with it now.
I like it.
That's great. Yeah, we have a great library system here as well. I need to I think
the library system of all library systems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is pretty great. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't, but I still use it. Like every in fact, my library has Amari, because I was like, hey, you know what you guys should buy? And my kids love the library. And maybe they don't have all the books I want to read, but I'm still going in there and getting books and rounding all my fines up. So I'm donating extra and all of that, because for me, especially as a kid, the library was my life. That every 2 weeks, trading in my 10 books and getting another 10, that was the highlight of my entire existence.
Yep.
And, you know, I want other people to have that. As much as I do get ebooks from the library and Kindle Unlimited as an adult, but as limited maybe as my resources are, it is still so much more than what I had as a child, especially for books. Because the only way for me to read a book was for it to be in front of my face. I didn't have the internet. I wasn't able to be like other books like this book in a search engine or Goodreads or BookTube, or like none of that existed for me. So it was literally, what does this library, or even I had the little mobile library. It was like a van of library
the
books. You guys ever seen that?
bookmobile.
Yes,
Yeah,
the bookmobile. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, that came to my town when I was like 8 and 10, where we lived. And it's like the size of a minivan. It is not big. I mean, I had read all of the books every time, but hey, I was still in there, like trying to find the deck, or what was I going to reread that week? Like, it was so important to me. And as an adult, especially adults in the online book community, like you've got to do your part. You are the readers.
Yeah.
I also think too, like you said, Heather, like, and a couple of people said in the comments, like when your library doesn't have something, recommend it. Ask someone if they can purchase it, because I will tell you, as someone who does selection, I can't tell you the amount of books that release. Books release traditionally every Tuesday. Okay.
Right.
Every Tuesday. Keeping up with every single book that's releasing, and then having to decide what you think based off of an entire community of people. For my community, it's almost 500,000. Thinking in my mind, what do I think is going to circulate the best? I miss stuff all the time. And that's because pub dates change, or quite frankly, dealing with certain vendors, I may not even see it come through. So sometimes when I have, patrons who will send in, because we have a system on our website where you can put in a title, and then that title, if it's youth related, will come to me, and then I make a decision about whether we get some titles. I'll miss completely, and I'll be like, oh shoot, how did I, and it just falls through the cracks. But people are like, oh, my library doesn't have it. And I'm like, well, did you ask if somebody would be willing to like buy it for you? Oh, Renee,
come on, man.
They don't have a limit set up. Ours, you can only do 2 per month per card.
Yeah.
So that's smart.
Earlier, Martha said, I bet the person who does the purchasing gets sick of seeing my name. Child, we do recognize y'all's names. Okay?
You do?
Yes, we do. We do.
Listen.
Because the reason why is because you start seeing the same name over and over and over again. It's this one family, y'all. I see them at the beginning in my email at the beginning of the month, every single month. And I automatically, yes, we can get it. We can get it. Because they're reading those, it's these Odyssey, they're Christian fiction books. And they're the only family that's reading
Adventures in Odyssey.
Adventures in Odyssey, right?
Yeah.
They're the only fucking family reading these books. So when they come through, I'm like, oh, that's the such and such family. I said, damn, they request shit at the top of the month. We need audiobook 36, 30, and they'll use each other's cards because they only get 2 recommendations per month. So they see the kid's name, mom's name, dad's name, and I'm like, all right, can we just tell them every single month we will get the 4 audiobooks for them. But yeah, you do recognize names over and over again. It's the same people. It doesn't really vary much. Every now and then I'll get an author who will request for us to buy their books, which is always interesting. Yeah. That's always fun.
Child, they already know me at my library. They be like, Miss Rowley. I be like, it's rolled, but thank you. Like, you like they already know when I'm coming through. I'm like, me and my son, they know me.
I love this. I'm like reading everyone's comments. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do the last couple things and wrap up, because I've already had you guys for 2 hours. And I know it takes me a little while to wind down after a live show. So
yeah,
we're gonna
for sure.
finish up. But do you ever feel pressure to justify your ratings or reviews? Do you ever have people challenge it? Or if it is like an unpopular opinion, or what have you. Do you ever feel pressure? I would say I don't really. Again, because I don't know, people just aren't arguing with me very much. They probably talk about me in their group chats and I don't see it, but they're not like telling me you are wrong and I'm going to tell you why. Like that doesn't happen very often. Sometimes it does. And it's usually them telling me this channel is not for them and they're leaving. So,
Okay.
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Listen, I know they be dragging me by the coattails in their group chat, but keep it cute in the group chat because I fight back, okay? But I feel like there was this one time I feel like I had to justify my review because, like I tell you, this one review I had the most shares, had the most comments. I feel like everybody was sharing this review, so I had to screenshot some passages from the book and put it in my story and be like, back the fuck up. This is why I said what I said, because this wasn't happening in the book. So this is why I posted what I posted. I feel like that was the most traction I've ever had on a review. And I'm sitting there like, damn, do I need to review traditionally published books more? Because damn, I feel like y'all giving me like, even though I feel like it wasn't a bad review, but I'm like, damn, y'all giving me more love on this traditionally published book that y'all give me on the Black indie books that I be reviewing. And I'm like, oh, they was coming for my neck, y'all. And I was like, oh shit, this is something else. Like I was like, to the point where I tell my friends every time I reference this one author, I'd be like, y'all Lord and Savior, because that's how y'all was carrying on. I'd be like, y'all Lord and Savior, because the way that they was carrying on after that review, I was like, ooh, my God.
Yeah. I think I justify my ratings in my reviews. And if people still don't like it, then I said what I said. You know, like that's what the review does, is it tells you why I rated a book what I rated it. And like, I don't know. I like, if people still have issues with it, that's more of a them problem than a me problem.
I don't think I've ever had to. I think, Bethany, I agree there. Like I explain in depth why I give the rating that I give, you know? And there really is no, now if people just want to have a conversation about, you know, I think there's a difference between like wanting to have a conversation about the work itself, if they had a different reading, than just straight attack mode.
Sure.
And I think sometimes too, having those differing opinions about some of the more popular books, I think brings out a comfort level for some people to be like, oh, I felt that way, I just didn't know how to say it. Like, I'll use, for example, 7 Days in June. I don't know why people love that book. I'm so confused. To this day, I'm very confused about why people love 7 Days in June.
Thank you.
Because
I'm sitting here like,
it was not it. It was not it for me. And it was the 5-star reviews across the board. And I was like, I'm just, you know, but I was very surprised, like, you know, in situations like that where I think I expect having to justify, it was more so, this is how I felt when I read the book. It's the books where I don't expect the bullshit that I get the bullshit, which is the most awkward situation for me.
Yeah.
But I write enough detail that is my justification.
Yeah.
They was giving me the side eye about that book, and I'm like, I don't see it, but if y'all like it, I love it. But I was like, first of all, I didn't even think it was a romance at all, but
it barely. It was unhealthy. It had me feeling anxiety during the entire read.
I did not like it. Yeah. Whew. Okay. Well, that came out nicely.
Yeah. I think too, sometimes I'll have books that I really love, and then people feel the need to come and tell me that they hated it, and I'm like, okay. I mean, you know, I mean, like you don't have to like the same things I like. Okay, like probably the most controversial thing that's one of my favorite books I've read this year is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshni Chokshi. I'm like, I totally get why there are people who hate it. I don't care. I love it.
Right.
It's like the writing works for me. If it did, it is very flowery. It's a lot of vibes. If that's not your deal, that's totally fine. It's much darker than any of her YA stuff too, which, like, again, you might not like that. I enjoyed it, and I said why. And if you hated it, whatever. That was Renee. It's okay. I love watching. I read your reviews on stuff on Goodreads too because they always crack me up. But
That's funny.
Well,
you get a pass.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm glad I have people that feel the same way that I do about 7 days in June. But yeah,
I didn't even kind of put on my TBR. All of my mutuals who read that book, I feel like were like, no, no, and I was like, oh no, okay.
The first one in my review was, I'm gonna have an unpopular opinion about this book. Like, I knew from the jump, like I was like, because I read it and I was like, everybody was just gushing.
it was, oh my God,
I
this
love
needs to
it.
be a movie. No, it fucking do not. Okay.
Right.
Let that go.
Trauma. It was nothing but trauma.
Thank you. Hugs.
Virtual hugs.
Hugs.
Being validated right now.
I didn't feel any romance, but then again, that's how I felt about Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan too, and they loved that book, and I'm telling you right now, I hated that book.
Oh no, I love 7 Days. It's so diverse.
Yeah. Okay. This is the thing. It was the book of the month pick for February of last year, right? So it was the book that everyone was like, look, I have my Black author.
Yes.
For February.
Oh man.
Some of them have stopped trying. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the realness of you have stopped trying to sell these people a fucking golden ticket. You don't read Black. You don't want to read Black. Stay reading your white shit, and that's perfectly fine.
And
Ain't nobody gonna argue with you about it.
And that's what I don't understand. Like, it's perfectly fine to read your white books. If you don't want to read Black books, it's fine. Like, we don't bye.
You don't have to be
We
fun.
good. I'm sleeping with the crown on with a blanket. Everybody. Shit.
Yep.
That's my obligatory Black book for the year. That's what that was about.
Listen, between that, it's because I be like, I tell you, I have a struggle page on Book Talk. I think Book Talk is fun, and I be on there, doing my little thing. So I call it my struggle page. But I see these books in rotation all the time, and I'm like, if my eyes be rolling way to the back, my eyes be to the back of my head because I'm like, what is it that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? Because trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It was trauma and codependency to the nth degree that it made me nervous for them to even be together.
But I guess it's the type of trauma that they like, because the way that they talk about urban romance and they talk about the drugs and the gangs, they don't want that type of trauma. They want the infant loss and the depression trauma. Child, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, to each his own.
I'm not sure. Let's look at my drama. Listen, I had to ask myself that because not only did I go and show my ass on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, then I went and showed my ass on Instagram last week. It's got to be me.
You are not the drama, Ashley.
You ain't the drama.
Those everyone you called out more than deserves to be called out. And honestly, especially on Instagram, you were nicer than you had to be. Let's be honest, because you could say a lot of names. You could say a lot of things about those names going back years.
The first.
Come on, Aaron. Go ahead, y'all. Come on, Aaron.
That's true. The love mafia romance, but hood romance is too much.
Yep.
Don't get me started, because y'all know I go hard for Black indie romance, and don't get me started. started on this channel.
I feel like it's like a double standard. I don't like mafia romance, so things with the same themes are not going to be my deal. But like, if you like mafia romance, I don't understand why that's how people.
Child, it's like
You know why? You know why? Because I'm going to tell you why. Because mafia romance has the complexion for the protection.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's the complexion for the protection.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yep.
Oh God.
It is.
Yeah.
I just feel like someone said earlier that people get really offended when you disagree with them. I like my issue with sometimes when it comes to reviewing and having perspectives is like, once again, going back to what I said last weekend, you can read what you want, feel how you want. But at the point where you start crossing lines and you try to silence people where that book may be offensive to them is where you need to shut the hell up and mind your business and stay in your lane. That's what I have, because nobody is trying to, because what I don't like is when people are like, oh, everybody just first of all, I saw someone say, and I hate to do this, but I'm gonna do it. I wish people would stop gatekeeping. Well, we can't have shit, so we're gonna motherfucking gatekeep, okay? Stop.
I'm gatekeeping like a mug.
Stop. Y'all got like, I hate that was an argument in that lane. But also, stop using people are trying to control what you're reading. No one is trying to control what anybody is reading. Right. But when people say like, hey, I don't really care for this, let those people be heard. They have a right to feel the way they want to feel. It's not for you to double down and show your whole ass unless you want to get kicked in the ass.
Yep.
And I'm done.
Well, and also it's mostly white people who just want to read white books, right? Let's be perfectly honest. They just want to read white books and they don't want to hear anybody say anything about it. And quite frankly, no one wants you reviewing Black authors anyways.
No, we don't.
We don't want your reviews on that. I don't.
We don't.
Some of y'all, I'm so sorry. I don't care about your opinion. I don't care. I don't like you. I don't want your opinion on books that I like. I'm not trying to get you to read all of my hidden gems or be like, oh, you don't read diversely at all. So here's some great recommendations. Like you already watched my channel. You already could have gotten those recommendations on your own and you purposely avoided them. And that told me all that I needed to know. I don't need to try and get you to read them.
You made a good point. Here's the thing, what people are not understanding, because this is not just about people's patterns in reading books. This is how people live their personal lives. What we're seeing is a reflection of their personal life in the way that they read. How you live your life is how you live your life. How you read is what you read. The reason why I think I have gotten to a point where I've said, I'm not going to ask anybody to read diversely anymore is because I don't want your biases that you carry in your personal life to carry over into these authors who are doing their damnedest job to push out voices that are not typically heard. I don't want your biases to leak over into that. So you don't have to read it. You don't have to review it. And like I keep saying time and time again, it only informs how I need to move around you. But what you will not do is continue to get on the internet and tell Black women what they should and should not say.
Yeah.
Right. That's a done deal whatsoever, because after seeing that shit go on and on and on and on for as long as I've been in this community, like I can't let that shit ride like that. Like, do what you want to do, but you ain't gonna tell Black women that they don't have a say so in a book that is written about Black people. Where the fuck they do that at?
Yeah.
And you whole sit up white as hell.
Yep.
Audacity at an all-time high.
Audacity. And I don't listen, as I always say, I say what I want to say because I say the shit to your face.
And that's the problem. Yeah. It's like these some internet gangsters and some thumb thugs, they just be on the internet acting the fool. And I'm like, if I see you in real life,
they gonna have to have my bail money ready.
Keep the same energy, please.
They not though. That's what's so funny about it, is that like this petty shit, this going back and forth, this internet shit, y'all gonna fuck around and find out about a real person one day that you gonna catch on the internet, and then they gonna see you in life in real person. and they gonna keep the same energy on their end.
Right.
Not with your buck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fights
Not
break
if you
out when
buck
that song just play. You play that song in the club and somebody fighting.
Listen, my college days. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like if people genuinely value reading diversely, they will do it, or they'll find ways to, like, it's not, I think that's the thing. Like, it's not difficult to do. If it's something that you actually value, it is really not difficult to
Right.
find books in the genres you like from a range of perspectives.
Right. Agreed.
So,
And I know for me, it's the bare minimum. Like, if I have never watched you before or never checked your books, I'm paying attention. And if there's nothing there, then I'm just clicking off. Like, I'm not even watching more of your videos, to be perfectly honest. But it's such a bare minimum. And there are so many people who either don't care about reading diversely or don't want to be told to read diversely. They actively do not want to watch anyone who mentions it, who acts like those things matter. There are plenty of people like that. So you have your audience.
Yeah.
You have your audience. You don't need me.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you. And I don't need the audience that wants that. Like, we filter each other out really quickly with that bare minimum of
That's so true. Heather, listen,
that's not white,
like,
or not.
It's so quickly you get the comments from people like being pissed off, like, well, why does it even matter? I like the number of people that I've had be like, well, I read books based on what they're about, not what the author looks like. I'm like, okay, good for you.
Always what they mean is, I read white authors.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to say I only read white authors on
purpose. Or what they mean is, I read whatever publishing is pushing at me most forcefully, and I don't want to have to evaluate my choices.
Yeah.
Which is going to be 90% white authors.
Which is going to be 90%. I mean, that's the thing. And that's the problem, is that, like, if you aren't intentional about it, you will mostly read white authors because that's who gets most of the publishing dollars, and that's who gets most of the publicity. And so, like, that's the thing, is when people get mad at me for being intentional about who I'm reading and what I'm reading, I'm like, yeah, I have to, because otherwise, you know what my reading looked like before I started paying attention? It looked a very certain way because that's what gets pushed at you, and some people don't.
Some people are just comfortable with that. They don't want to do the extra work, and they're just some people don't want to do the work.
Yeah,
and they're comfortable with that.
Oh, Renee, listen. The top videos at the end of the year were pretty revealing for some. How is your whole top 20 all white authors? Yeah. You see it. This is where you see it. Go look at people's best of the year list, and you will see a good view of, like, what are the kinds of things they're picking up. I
remember Ashley doing a video calling people out for that, like, the December of 2020, being like, it's December. Lists are white.
But people don't ever fucking believe me. When I did my first video in June of 2020, I told people, I said, at this point, y'all gonna do the same shit that you always do. December, 6 months later, checked in. You already went back to doing what you always do. I know people for a fact who all of a sudden were reading Black authors within that 6 month period. You look at them now, and they have reverted right back to the same shit that they were doing before. It's never been, but it's a privilege to never have to find yourself in a book, because it's always been done for you with you in mind. It is a privilege to go through your entire life and never have to worry about, damn, am I ever going to read a book that makes me feel seen? You don't ever have to worry about that, because it's been designed to fit your life and your narrative and your expectations and your wishes. That's a hell of a privilege. It must be fucking nice. That's wild to me that you don't want to learn about anybody else. outside of your lived experience. And I'm not even just talking about racially, different religions, disability. Like it extends so much further than that. And yet I fear most is like kids who are coming into our community watching our shit. It concerns me because that's where empathy starts when it comes to books. That's how they learn, seeing someone else's lived experience. And if they're constantly just seeing the same white shit that gets pushed out on things like because TikTok is what is running the game right now. I have to buy books, extra copies of books based on what the fuck TikTok is doing. And I hate that because it's nothing but black backlist white authors that these kids are getting interested in because that's all that they're seeing. It's creating a generation to continue the cycle that our generation is dealing with right now. That shit, I mean, that's just wild to me.
I think there was a point earlier about like, you know, you should read diversely if you want to, not because it's you know, the hype thing or whatever. And this is, and I can tell you, right, like it's one of those things that like doing it just when it's hyped might get some attention to your page, but doing it consistently will make people leave who don't want to be there, because like it past that moment, people don't like it. Not everybody doesn't like it. Like there are people who do, and so you find your people. But yeah, this exactly. But it's interesting that some people who are like okay with it for that period in time where it is trending, if you keep on beyond that, they get annoyed at it, which says something, I think.
April had a good question. I feel like I haven't given a 5-star rating in so long. I don't know if it's because I've grown or my reading likes have changed. How do y'all set up your rating? Like, what is a 1 to 5 for y'all? I'm gonna tell you right now, my 1 to 5 is not the same for every age group. I do not, and I don't like adults who go into children or middle grade specifically, because that's where I see it, and they tear it to fucking shreds. You're not the intended audience. I think YA is a little different because YA doesn't know who the fuck they're meant for right now. I think they're going through, they don't. YA has no idea who, if it's writing for 25-year-olds or 15-year-olds, they have no idea. For me, the 1 to 5 is not going to be the same for children's or middle grade as the 1 to 5 for YA or adult. For me, it is it's a host of different elements when I'm doing a rating. A lot of it is instinctual. I can tell you probably when I'm 50 to 60% into a book where I'm leaning, but I'm really much looking at the writing, how cohesive is the writing. I am a huge fan of robust character development, especially if characters are dealing with both inner and external issues. How are they progressing through those issues? Are we seeing a change in character? Are we getting a 360 character? Or are they falling flat? Plot for me is mostly about like whether it's capturing my attention. I can deal with fast or a slow pace plot. It doesn't really, it doesn't make a difference to me, but it has to be about attention. I think those 3 things for me are what I go for in terms of my rating. 3 stars for me is pretty standard. It was okay. It's not good. It's not bad. Would I reread it? Probably not. It's just, it is what it is. When you start getting into 4, it's like, okay, this was really good, but it's not blowing my mind. I'm not constantly thinking about it. A 5-star is a book that I literally want to pick up and reread again right after I fucking finished it. And I can't stop. I can't stop thinking about it. I mean, like, I could be in the middle of another book and I'd be like, damn, like that book. I want to stop what I'm doing right now and pick that. So I'm very hesitant about my 5 stars as well. I also notice for me personally, 5 stars are usually those books that emotionally, not necessarily make me cry, but for a writer to draw me into a story, into characters that I have no knowledge of, I don't know them, and I feel invested and there's an emotional connection, for me, that's a sign of a fucking good writer. Like, because you're making me care about something that otherwise I wouldn't necessarily care
Yeah.
about. Go
I
ahead.
like what you said. I said I'm gonna add. I agree with everything that you say when it comes to a 5-star book. And when I'm gushing to all my bookish friends, you have to read this shit. Like, this shit is so good. I'm gonna add storyline consistencies for me, because that is very, very important to me. Like, the storyline has to be consistent. It has to make sense to me for me to even think about adding it 5 stars. And I'm very I like character-driven stories. So a lot of my reviews, if you read my reviews are going to be character-driven, because I like character-driven stories. So if it's like amazing character development, that's another one of my 5 stars. I'm going to give it 5 stars if the character development is like bomb. But I feel like me and Ash has the same when it comes to rating for 5 stars book. Right now, I'm giving everybody 3 stars. I'm throwing out 3 stars like Oprah. Like, they ain't feeding me. So I got to give everybody 3 stars. Well, except for this one book. It's called Only If It's You by T. Lynn. That book is like one of my top books of this year. It was so damn good. So
I love it.
Everything else,
yeah.
You just go over Goodreads real quick.
I'm definitely like less stingy with the 5 stars, which is why I do a thing for myself where I give 6 stars to a thing that's like a favorite of the year.
The 6 stars started with Bethany.
Oh,
that's right, Ashley.
Sorry.
Thanks, Ashley. It's okay. Yeah.
Community.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But I instituted it because I didn't want to be stingy with 5 stars, but I wanted a way to differentiate which ones were my actual faves. And so usually a book that gets a 6 star is something that like made me cry, something that just completely swept me away, that I adored it and want to reread it, want to own a copy on my shelves and whatever. I love the comments about this. Thanks, Ashley. Anyway, but like a 5-star book is still a book that I think is like very, very good. I don't have a lot of notes for it. I would definitely recommend it. I think my 5-star is probably similar to like Mara from Books Like Whoa. Like the books she gives 4 stars are kind of like my 5 stars, basically.
Right.
And so like for me, 3 stars is like it was good, like middle of the road. Like I liked it. I didn't dislike it. But it wasn't like a standout necessarily, or it had some problems. I think a 4 star is my average. Like my average rating usually is like a 3.8 to a 4 star rating. And so that's what I'm going to give to a book that I would recommend. I think is pretty good and stuff. So I do half stars, but I don't do anything more wild than that.
Some people's scoring systems are elaborate.
You know what? I mean, she has a point, because I always, when I see the 3.75, 3.65, and I'm like, how you come up with that? Like, how did you come up with that? Like, I need.
So there's some people who have an actual algorithm where they average it out. They give ratings for different things.
People are very invested in their rating.
I'm like 3.74. Child, how? Like, how did you get there?
Yeah.
Help me understand you.
For me, if I am enthusiastic about a book, it's a 4 or a 5. I am not stingy with my ratings. I DNF all the time. So chances are good that if it was 3 or below, there was at least a 50% chance I DNF that book. At least. Sometimes you filter through. Okay. Listen, I don't need all I have to do is be like, you know what? I don't need more of this. I will DNF you. I will DNF I can't. Okay. I promised the people that I'm going to do a wrap up of my DNFs at the end of this quarter, and you're
I
going
would
to find
like
out.
Please.
I don't need like any reason really. It's just I don't feel like continuing reading this book. But so
Damn,
and
okay.
here's the thing. I don't care if you would have ended up being a 5-star. If I feel like DNFing you, I don't feel like FOMO about it. I'm like, whatever, you weren't good for this page, so bye. It's not quite that bad, but like I don't feel bad about
It
if I
is that
missed a
bad.
book that I would have enjoyed.
It is.
It is that bad. Don't try to play it.
Like sometimes, yes. So 1 star is I hated it. I will go out of my way to tell you why you should not read this book, why I hate this book, why the author can, I hate it. 2 is just, I don't hate it with like a burning passion, but it was bad. It was bad. I didn't like it. I wasn't having a good time. Mistakes were made. It's a 2-star. 3 is I'm sure other people like it. And there were parts of it that I enjoyed, but overall, you're not really a recommendation. You're just a book that I read. And that was it.
Man.
Wow.
Dang.
I'm gonna start using that. I will give you
I
all
like
credit.
that.
You're not a recommendation, you're just a
4 is like a solid recommendation, or it could be a recommendation. Overall, when I think about that book, I think I really liked this book, but there were 1 or 2 things specifically. A lot of times it's a conflict or something like that where I'm just like, oh, that just really annoyed me. The way that was done or what was handled. There's things I didn't like. Not a lot of things. Overall, you asked me, I liked that book. I might even say I loved that book. But I can also definitely be like, oh, but that 3rd act breakup was freaking annoying in that one. And then 5 is just, I liked it. When I think of that book, I think I liked it. I had such a good time. I would read that again. I would be so enthusiastic if you were like, hey, I read that book. I'd be like, oh, yes, wasn't it so good? And my thoughts of that book is I loved it. I had a great time. I'm not thinking, but the writing was bad, but the breakup was bad, but I'm not thinking, but I'm thinking, I love that. So I have multiple 5 stars every single month because 1, I read a lot of repeat authors, a lot of repeat authors. So a lot of times I know, like, generally I like what you do. I'm probably going to like it. And then also I DNF it if I'm not having a good time. So
yeah, I don't give a 5 stars like that. Like, I don't give a 5 stars like that.
Yeah, I do.
I do too.
For me to give a book 5 stars, that shit was amazing. And I rarely give a 5 stars. I would 3-star you to death.
I do a lot of 4 stars, but like,
yeah.
But no, that's why I did the 6-star thing, is because I wanted to give 5 stars more, but I wanted a way to like pull out the ones that were amazing.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it.
That's how I pull out my amazing books, 5 stars. Like when you see me give someone 5 stars, you already know, damn, maybe I should pick this book up because this bitch don't give nobody 5 stars.
You already know. People do that. But I guess for me, it's just like if it was a cup of coffee, I would be like, this is exactly what I wanted. There's nothing wrong with this cup of coffee.
Right.
It's so
exactly.
good.
That's exactly it. Is it the coffee that I'm gonna dream about in 10 years and never be able to recreate? No, but it was exactly what I wanted. I don't have a lot of notes.
What it was trying to do.
It was trying to do.
It gave me what I wanted. We are
that coffee was good.
Exactly.
I'm the type of be like, the coffee was but they ain't give me no whipped cream. Like I'd be like, where the whipped cream at? Like 3 stars, no whipped cream. Bye.
I think I give a lot of 4 stars too, but I find that my 5 stars are not YA or adult. A lot of them are not.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are in middle grade.
Interesting.
I think that Kids Lit right now is doing some things that I wish that YA was doing. And it's
Yeah.
super unfortunate because YA is going through an identity crisis right now, and it's sad. But yeah, a lot of my higher ranked or higher rated books for the year, it's either comics, graphic novels, I give it that, and then middle grade usually sits up there.
Interesting.
But I feel like I'm a lot more harsh when it comes to YA and adult stuff.
I think most of my favorite books lately have been adult. Like every once in a while you might see, like in terms of like the 6-star thing, like
Yeah.
every once in a while you might see some YA. Like, I mean, like for this year I've got like one YA, and I have a middle grade. I have a middle grade this year.
Which one?
Which never happens. The Girl Who Drank the Moon.
Ah.
Oh my God, it's so good. I was
the
like,
Newberries. Newberries are
God.
always,
listen.
they're a mess.
You know
In
what?
a
I
good way.
usually avoid them because they traumatized me as a child.
Oh, they
Mhm.
still do.
But this
And
one was
I
so
always-
good.
But I
Oh my
always
gosh.
act surprised every time I step into a Newberry, and I'm like, I should know better at this point. Anytime you step into a Newberry winner or a Newberry honor, it's something about it is going to make you feel like, damn, like this kid's reading this shit. This is kind of depressing.
Right. Steph co-signs.
Yeah, it's really good. I was so impressed. The writing is so good. Like adults should read it because it's like got layers and nuance and themes, and oh man, it's great.
YA could never right now with the way the publishing industry knows that YA is it has made them money for such a long time, and so I feel like the writing is always geared towards, not always, but I feel like the writing has been geared towards adults.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate because Bethany and I were just talking about that book that you recommended to me. It leaves that awkward group like 12 to 14. There's literally nothing sometimes, I feel like, even as a librarian, and that's my age group. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to give you to read? You're too
Right.
old for middle grade. But then YA, I'm like, I don't want to be the adult that introduces you to some of these complex themes, and I don't know if your parents are going to be okay with you reading about this shit just yet. So there's like,
Yeah.
what do you give them?
Right.
I wish there was
Yeah,
more.
which is why, like, whenever I see them, I try to point them out to you, honestly, because I'll be like, or I'll say in the review, this would be great for
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this age demographic, like lower YA, because sometimes you do find them, but yeah.
It's sad when you have like, it's me and another person in my department. We're both librarians, and her daughter is in that phase right now. And we're both like trying to be like, okay, well, I'll read this, you read that, and let's figure out if it's something that you feel like would be appropriate for her.
Yeah.
For her,
You
in
know
that
what
age bracket.
series is technically middle grade, but I think really is more that category, is the Keeper of the Lost Cities series.
Yeah, that's when I think I just got the first one on audio to start reading to see if that one, like one of those that is ages up a little bit too, even as you go through.
Well, even the first book, because it's got a lot more of like crushes and like it feels a little older. It doesn't feel it. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. And comments are.
They're fun.
Oh yeah. Adult reviewers do destroy them. I hate when adult reviewers get into a middle grade book and they're like, "These characters read so young." What the fuck? Like,
I know.
What you mean?
Of course, they're supposed to. That's the point.
They're supposed to.
I think it's helpful for me, like, because now I read a lot of the middle grade books. A lot of the middle grade books I'm reading now, I'm reading out loud to my kids before bed. And so that, I think, gives me a little bit of a different perspective when I'm reviewing. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Well, and like you guys were saying earlier, especially on Goodreads, if you're reviewing books for that age, you should really, the people that are looking at those reviews are adult relatives, etc., that are looking for a birthday present or looking for they have a voracious reader and they're looking for the next thing. That's who's reading your review. It's not other adult readers. It's not the actual children. It's the adults that just want to find a book for a kid.
Yeah, pretty much. Or librarians looking to. I'm friends with this one librarian on Goodreads, and she reads her ass off. She's a school librarian, and every now and then she'll comment and be like, "Do you feel like this is, is this something that would be appropriate that I could purchase for my kids? And it's like, I think the content might be a little bit too much for middle school. Or this would be perfect for your middle school kids. So it definitely, people are looking for that stuff to make decisions for their, for the kids that they have in their life.
Yeah. I think it's, this is accurate. Yeah. Like a lot of books hit really hard with them. Yeah. Cause it's written for a different age. That's why I write those reviews differently. There's so many good things out there now. Like right now we're reading, Cameron Battle and the Hidden Kingdoms. And it's really good. Also, I love that it's like, I mean, it's very low key, but the main character is I think gay, the author is, and so he's like kind of crushing on his best friend, but it's really like subtle. And it's just,
that's kind of how Zachary Yin and the Dragon Emperor was too, where main character is definitely gay, but it's just he kind of blushes around the one boy, and stuff like that. And he's
or it's like they like, great. It's cute. It's cute. That's good.
Yeah.
And my littlest is like, look, Mom, he's got curly hair like me and brown skin like Daddy. Like, yeah.
That's so sweet.
That's cute.
Well, we have solved the book community problems for 2023.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know, Heather.
You haven't even made it halfway through the year yet.
Heather, I don't know about that.
Next time something pops up, just send this as a how-to guide and let them know we already addressed it. We already fixed it for them. They just have to listen to us. Because we're definitely right.
Always.
Well, it is so late. Thank you.
This was so late.
This was such an amazing live. I had such a wonderful time. I haven't had a live discussion on my channel in months, and there were some questionable moments. But this one was amazing. So I'm very happy that we did this. So thank you so much for joining me. I feel like
thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
fantastic people talk about this. So I really appreciate it. So thanks everyone for watching. And if you're not already following them, make sure you do. I know Taima is not a booktuber, but I cannot recommend following her on all the platforms enough.
Even my struggle TikTok.
I screenshot your TikToks all the time.
I'm primarily on Instagram, so
you are a good creator to follow. So I stand by that. All right. Thanks, everyone.